river, you're losing the original because the reason is because it's totally a non sequitur. Because first of all, the air doesn't flow like a river. It would all go in one direction. We would all notice it, and according to fluid dynamics, it wouldn't be in lockstep with the Earth. So therefore, just by standing on the Earth at any point, you would constantly feel an eastward wind because it's not in lockstep. You would constantly feel that because of fluid dynamics. So we know it's not going in one direction. But even if it was, when you fly against that spin, you're not going at the speed of the Earth any longer because you're losing your momentum that you had eastward by flying west. You can't say that you're still traveling 500 miles per hour eastward when you're going in the opposite direction. And if you go towards the equator, you're going to need to be flying faster eastward than you started off with, but you've lost your momentum just by flying west. And the Coriolis effect deflects west from if you're going towards the equator, the Coriolis effect would actually deflect the plane in the opposite direction that it would need to fly to catch up to it. You understand that? Because it would go west. That's the Coriolis effect. Because the city that it's going towards is moving faster in the other direction, the Coriolis effect makes it deviate the opposite direction if it were just to fly straight.
Okay.
Yeah, but there's two winds. There's the winds of the high latitudes that go in one direction, and then there's winds of the lower latitudes that go in the opposite direction. So if everybody thinks all the winds are going in the same direction and then all whatever, that's not the case.
That's not the case. Yeah, it's obviously so it doesn't work automatically just based on that. There's not just one consistent wind. There's not two consistent winds. It's all various. Like there's no way to predict anything about the atmosphere or winds. It's all such a crazy variable that if they were to get up in an airplane and say, "Oh, we can depend on the wind just making us in lockstep with the Earth, and we don't have to worry about it. We got a plane load of people, but this magic wind is going to make us all of a sudden in this new tangential velocity of 500 miles per hour faster eastward, sideways, without even measuring it or having any kind of notice of it or any kind of gauge of how fast the Earth is moving compared to our plane eastward." That would be ridiculous for them to think that would even be the case, and it wouldn't be because winds go in all directions. So it's just ridiculous to even entertain that idea.
Yeah, it's and like the global argument really, I shouldn't even say the global argument, but like the mainstream story about it, it's as though you're supposed to just ignore the idea that it's all moving in lockstep together, while at the same time you do have these winds going in all different directions. Now, when it comes to like what we call wind, actual wind, they don't even claim that it's got anything to do with the Earth spinning or anything like that. It's because of changes in temperature, creating like the rising and falling of the air, or whatever, because it's normally warmer near the ground, and so on and so forth. Whatever that causes high and low pressure zones. High and low pressure zones is again due to like entropy or whatever. Like gas that wants to move from high pressure to low pressure, that's what creates the wind.
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, but let me just look. I know why you don't want to address this point. If you put an object in a fluid that's moving, will the object eventually be moving with that fluid?
It depends if it's moving against that flow or not. If it goes against the flow, then it's not going to be going the same speed as the flow. It's going to be going in the opposite direction.
Hold on, nothing's moving. We're just taking an object and we're placing it in a fluid that's moving. Is the object going to be moving with that fluid?
Yep.
Okay, let's say the fluid's moving over.
I know why you don't want to answer this.
No, let's just go through it. It will move. Yes, Jeremy, it will move with
the speed with the flow of the river. Yes, if you put a boat in the river, it doesn't float. It doesn't try to do anything with the engine. It would flow along with the river. Yes.
Okay, so when an object goes into a fluid, it will eventually start going with the speed of that fluid, right?
Eventually or right away? I mean, right away, right? It would just be going with the fluid.
I mean, it may not be instantly. It may take a second. I don't know, but eventually it's going to be going with the fluid, right?
Sure.
He's already said that like 3 times, bro. Continue on.
Okay, so when a plane takes off and it's in the fluid that's going 500 miles an hour, then it moves to the fluid that's going 501 miles an hour. It's eventually going to be going 501, right?
If the air acted like a fluid, the way you're talking about, that
Air is
could
a
be
fluid,
correct.
bro. Air is a fluid.
But it
But
doesn't
it's not.
act in the manner that you're describing for the analogy. You're offering an ad hoc explanation. Your
Yeah.
ad hoc explanation is a rudiment into the complexity of the directional pressures of wind that we see regularly, which it doesn't add to your example.
What
It
the
takes away
hell
from your
did you just
example.
say?
Wait,
What
now
did
wait
you
a minute.
even just say? New
So
perspective.
you offered an
You
ad hoc example, okay? Again, the river is a bad analogy to reality. It's an ad hoc example. Why? It's because you have multiple direction winds simultaneously changing minute by minute, second by second. So if you have this apparent fluid motion caused by the motion of the river is giving whatever's inside it motion to. You have all of these other motions and directions that are opposite to the direction that the river's going in this example. You'd have to have
You
multiple
constantly
rivers.
do this, bro. You come in, you say a lot of words that take a long time to say. Half the shit you say is not relevant. We're not talking about winds. We're talking about whatever, bro. Just finish it up. Be concise,
So
please.
it is relevant because I'm telling you that you're using a bad ad hoc example because you're using a one directional flow for an example of an airplane when reality dictates that this river that you claim that is in one motion that is attributed to the plane going 501 miles, there's other patterns of wind that go in the opposite direction of this apparent river that contradict, meaning it shows independence of this apparent analogy that you use as an example of a river and putting something in it.
We
You
got to
said
put the
ad
time
hack.
limit on this, dude. We got to put the time limit on data. I don't know, bro.
Yeah,
Come
but
on, man.
Jeremy, like let's say the ball is like a blender, right? And it's got the fluid on the outside, right? Now the ball's spinning, making the fluid flow with the spin of the ball, right? But according to fluid dynamics, it's going to be a different speed than the ball, right? The fluid's going to be wrapping around the so like if you were at even like a river that you're in, right? If you try to put your feet down and you're flowing with rivers, you try to put your feet down on the bottom of the river, you're going to drag your feet along, right? Because the river's flowing along. It's not going to keep you moving in the same way. If the earth were moving, it wouldn't be moving in lockstep with the earth, with the ground of that river automatically, just because fluid dynamics doesn't make it in lockstep. You know what I'm saying? It's different pace. So
Your
you'd be
argument is that.
landing on a
Well,
moving
hold
surface
on.
no matter what.
You're doing the same. Hold on. If your argument is the atmosphere is not flowing in lockstep, that's a different argument. That you can't use your plane thing to and then in the midst of using this plane argument you say the air's not moving in lockstep because then you're not even using their model.
But they don't say it's in lockstep. You heard it earlier when Witsit was trying to make them commit to it, and they were saying almost exactly, not really, but kind of. When really, if the Earth were moving, there'd be all kinds of variations. They don't have an answer for that because there's nothing you can find. There's no measurement saying we know that the Earth is spinning and this is how fast the atmosphere, that's not a wind somehow, moving in one direction. There's no measurement. There's no sense of that. It's always just wind going in a dynamic system over a stationary Earth, and that's why the planes can treat it as stationary. That's the only way that'd be possible.
One second.
Have you ever
on
heard
that
anyone say this? Have you ever heard anyone say this is a good argument?
Absolutely. This is why Witsit used my diagram earlier and walked you through it. And it seems like you think that it would work the way the ballers explain it if their model was correct. You don't see the contradiction in it.
He
You think
used
they
he
can
used
fly
your
straight to the-
diagram.
Let me jump in for a second, please.
He used your hold
Jeremy.
on, man. He used your diagram to make my argument. He wasn't making your argument. Your argument is borderline incoherent. I don't even get it.
This is what I've been telling you. That my diagram is your argument. It's what I've been saying this whole time. That's why I'm trying to come to a head with you on this, and that you'll understand it because you use my diagram, explains it the same way I do, and you're saying, okay, it's a dope diagram all of a sudden.
Look, Jeremy,
Bro, I'm just
because
saying
just because somebody said that they wouldn't commit to it or whatever, they didn't want to agree with like total lockstep. It doesn't mean shit. Just talking to ballers on here doesn't hold any weight. You have to go to their experts, okay? And what their model and their experts say is that it is in lockstep. Just because they wouldn't agree to that means nothing. Holds no weight, no bearing.
No, they're
Yeah,
experts.
they
Don't
say their
it's
argument's in
lockstep.
lockstep. That was what I was telling New Perspective, and he said,
They're
no, it's not in lockstep. We're not. If he doesn't want to use their model, you can't. Like,
no,
I don't know.
no way, Jeremy. Their experts have to admit it's not in lockstep because of fluid dynamics. They can't deny fluid dynamics.
Listen to me. I don't get your argument, bro. That's all I'm saying.
I
It may be a
know.
good argument. I
You
don't
did.
know. I
You
just
did when Whitson explained it to you earlier. You got my argument, and you're saying it's your
Witzit
argument.
made my
In my
argument
opinion,
earlier,
hold
not
on.
yours. He didn't
It's the
make your
same
argument. He
thing,
made
dude,
my
then you don't
argument.
get
It's
why
not the
it's not
same.
the same. That's why I was telling Whitson to present it to you today because you still don't get it. That's why he did that because I was saying, will you explain this to Jeremy? He thinks it's a competition between he and I about Coriolis. Will you just explain it to him because he won't listen to me, which is
No,
exactly
I
what
don't
you're
think it's a
saying right now.
competition, and he didn't explain your argument to me earlier. He made my argument. He used your diagram to make my
It's the
argument. He
same
didn't make your
argument, dude.
argument.
It's the same argument. It's the same argument, except the whole thing is that there's another point that he never even got to because you guys went off on the whole atmosphere. And I'll put a screenshot when we talked last night about it of what the actual argument is. And the thing is that and I was telling him exactly what you just explained, and he thought you didn't understand it this way, but this is how you understand it. You think that it's either going straight to it and it works just like the ballers say, or you lead the target, right? Right?
Say that again. Say that again.
You're saying that either works like the ballers say, and you can just go straight to the target, like the way they say, and you're counting for, your banking east or whatever you have to do, your corrections, and you can just get straight there the way that they explain it, and it would work just fine the way they say. Is that what you're saying? Or you can lead the target, right?
Yeah, you could do it the way they do it and chase it the whole time like a heat-seeking missile, or you could do it like a ballistic would. You could take the path a ballistic would and fly a shorter distance. That's my argument, yes.
Right. Okay, so look at the thing I just put in the live stream.
It has
I have to
nothing
zoom
to
in.
do with when you take off your tangential speed and you can't gain it or lose it. It has nothing to do with any of that.
All right, well,
Speed doesn't even matter in my argument. Speed's
look at
irrelevant.
okay, try to share screen or you want to just zoom in on what I just posted, right? Because this is what Witsit drew out last night. And there's the last point that he never got to today, right? So the blue dot, the light blue dot to the bottom
Are you
red
sharing
dot.
your screen or?
Oh, would you want me to? I could.
I
you
don't
can
know.
look
What
at
am I looking at? What blue dot?
what I just posted in the live stream. It's the same diagram Witsit was showing earlier. This is what we went through last night, he and I, right?
Okay.
And we went through it and we talked about what you think it is and what I was saying you think it is. And he was saying, no, you think it's this way, but actually you're saying it was like I was saying you think it is, right? You think that they can go on the green line and go straight to their destination according to the way the ballers think it works. And you can just get there, right? Or you could lead
They
the
have
target
two
because
different
you want,
paths.
right? So you can lead the target, right? Now, because the city that you're headed towards is moving faster than you are, because it's 1,000 miles an hour rather than 200 or 300, right? Because it's moving faster eastward than you are, you're good. You would have to go towards where the destination is going to be. Now, red dot on the right is where the destination is going to be when the 4-hour flight is over with, right? So 4 hours from that time, it's going to be way over there on a spinning globe. It's going to be way over there. So it would have to take that curved path that's curving down. Now, what Witsit thought your argument was rather than take that curved argument, that curved path to the destination, you would take that straight line that goes from the light blue dot to the red dot. He
That
thinks
is my
that's your
argument.
argument.
That is
Okay,
my
good.
argument.
Perfect. Then we're in agreement because that would be the fastest path to go straight there rather than do the curved path, right?
I don't know
So
about
we're in total
fastest. It
agreement.
would be the shortest path. This isn't about
Shortest,
speed at all.
yeah.
This is strictly
Okay,
a distance thing. If you start saying,
that's fine. Shortest is fine. We can agree on that. That's my
Yeah.
argument and your argument. We're in agreement. We can just stop acting like we're not in agreement.
You guys are in lockstep. Fuck yes. Yeah. Woo.
So we're not disagreeing, dude. You think we're disagreeing. Now, my whole argument about west southwest is that if the same under the same logic, if the city's moving eastward and you're starting from that same place that the blue dot is, then you would head south to get your target, and it would be kind of like that green line if it was coming from the other direction, right? You would just go south and hit your target because it's moving towards you, right? It's moving 1,000 miles an hour around the outside, and you would correct your flight and save on fuel, just like we talked about years ago. You and I were agreeing on this, saying, well, you would just plan all your flight plans would be taking advantage of that, saving on fuel, and you would go to where your destination is going to be. So if you were going from like New York to Dallas, you wouldn't fly straight to Dallas. You would fly southward because Dallas is moving towards you, right?
If you wanted to take the shortest path, you would fly to where your destination is going to be.
Exactly.
You'd pick your heading, but if it was a rotating ball Earth, you would have to correct for that position.
Yeah. And the fact that the city's moving faster than where you start off is the very important point that I think that you think we're disagreeing on. But you realize that if it's moving faster than you are.
Hold on. See, my thing don't have nothing to do with faster or speeds or energy or anything like that. It's strictly a distance thing.
But as a part of it, it makes a difference.
It's not part of my thing.
Well, it is a part of the globe thing. And that when you argue with a baller, you have to include the globe thing and all of the parameters that the globe thing would include to explain your argument. Otherwise, you're saying, forget about the way the globe worked. Let's just talk about this 1 meter and the shortest distance. And it gets them like all this leeway to say, well, that's not how the globe works. So why do we worry about what you're saying with this
my argument translates perfectly to the globe. Because they have the same thing going on. You can either lead or not lead. It's Coriolis effect. There's the two options where you can do the heat-seeking missile path or the ballistic path where you shoot it to where the target's going to be. It's the same thing.
Conceptually,
it doesn't matter. For my argument, it doesn't matter if the air moves in lockstep, not in lockstep. It's irrelevant. The Coriolis effect is there, and they have the two options.
Right, and that's fine. I'm not saying that that's bad. But I'm saying that the fact that the city on the equator is moving 1,000 miles an hour, it's moving faster eastward than your plane is. So that's going to make a big difference in how much you would have to lead the target and where your eventual straight path to where the city's going to end up would be, because it's moving faster than you are eastward when you start out. That's what makes a big difference in where the city ends up. You see? I'm not saying you have to include that in your argument, but it helps to have like the whole globe parameters involved with it to make a more complete argument. That's all I'm saying.
I have all the globe parameters there that I need. They have the Coriolis effect. It perfectly translates to the merry-go-round. When you use the North Pole equator, it's all there. Everything's working as is.
So you're in agreement with me that green line from the light blue dot to the red dot or straight to the equator would be impossible on a spinning ball, right? There's no way, even with the globe explanation, that would be impossible, right? You're in agreement with me on that? It wouldn't be able to follow the path like railroad tracks leading straight to it. You're in agreement with me? Because the city's moving faster. That's the reason that's not possible. That's why you have to include that part of it. Because it wouldn't be the fact that the city you're aiming towards is moving faster than you are. You would never be able to fly straight there. You would have to make a curved path to catch it. And if you were able to plan your flight route out to go straight there, like you're talking about, that would be a totally different path than the curved path.
Hold on, that green line's not possible because Earth's moving.
Right.
The red dot on the outer edge with the blue lines is where it's actually going to be. So the green line's not possible because Earth's moving.
Right, and also because the city that you're aiming towards is moving faster eastward than you are.
It don't have nothing to do with faster or fastest. It's all about it's moving, and it's going to be it's moving. So it's never going to be. You can never take that green path because it's moving. That's not even an option.
Yeah.
Unless it was stationary. If Earth was stationary, then that green path's an option.
We agree. It would be impossible to go straight there the way the ballers like to have us think it works. Like railroad track, like Left Lane saying he can fly just like a foot above the ground and get to that city by flying a foot above the ground. But the fact of the matter is that the city that he's headed towards is moving faster. If he was moving at the exact same pace as the city, then he could fly straight there. But because his pace is different than the city of the destination is the reason for the curved path, Jeremy. The speed does matter. I don't know why you don't get that, unless you do and you just don't get it yet. Or you don't get that you get it. If you were moving along with the city at the same exact pace, then you wouldn't have to worry about curving the path at all. You could just fly straight there the way the ballers would have us believe. But because
new
the
perspective.
destination's faster on the outside, you have to curve your path.
But when you're making this description of what's happening, it's kind of like you're saying we're not, well, a plane isn't part of Earth and it's just spinning under it, when in reality it's not that way. But
It would
you're
be
kind
that
of
way.
going
It's a
back and
separate
forth
reference
between.
frame.
Huh?
It would be because it's a separate reference frame. It's in a separate reference frame, just like a bullet. Now, it's not flying
No, it's
straight like
not.
a bullet. It's not flying straight like a
You
bullet. But just because it has engines doesn't mean that it's not a projectile with a Coriolis effect, just the way the bullet would have it. You can't say just because it has engines, it's moving along with the Earth automatically.
Okay,
Or
but
you're
with the
not, it
way
says its atmosphere
Coriolis
is moving
works,
along.
the globe models idea of it, isn't the more speed, the more prevalent the curve that Coriolis would make, the effect would make, right?
Why not?
No, well, like a plane going 500 miles an hour and a bullet going 1,000 miles an hour, you're going to be able to see this Coriolis effect in the bullet more because it's traveling faster, correct?
So
Well,
you mean
not
less
talking
time in
about
the air?
faster.
You mean
No.
less time in the air, Sean? Where you would see
Wait,
more Coriolis?
wait, hold on, wait.
No, no.
He's engaged with me real quick, Data. The reason, Sean, the reason that you would see it more with the bullet is because it doesn't have an engine and it would be going in a straight path. Therefore, it wouldn't be correcting to go with the Earth, and the Earth would move out from under it to the east. So it would
Didn't
be
you just
deviating to the west because, or appear to deviate. The Coriolis effect is just an apparent deviation, right? Because the Earth would be moving out from underneath the bullet, because it's in a separate reference frame, just the way the airplanes are as well. Then it would be, if it went straight, and if the plane did a straight bullet path and did a dead reckoning south, then you would see the same exact effect because the Earth would move eastward out from under it. That's where the deviation comes from.
again, they're not separate once the plane lifts off. But didn't you just say a minute ago that a
hold on,
plane can
Sean.
be okay?
Real quick, just to that point. If they're not separate, there's no Coriolis effect. They have to be separate to have a Coriolis effect because the thing's in an inertial frame, and the rotating Earth would be a non-inertial. They have to be
Exactly.
separate in your
Because
mind.
the reason is because the faster the object goes, the less it is in quote unquote lockstep with Earth. What
This
I
is
was
not
saying
a
before
It
is new
doesn't have to do
perspective.
with
A minute
speed. It
ago,
has to
didn't
do
you
with
say
straight paths.
again a minute ago? Didn't you say you looked at an airplane like a ballistic, even because it had an engine and
No, I'm saying that it could totally defy all of those things. It could correct for Coriolis because it has an engine. I'm
The
saying that's
okay, yeah,
airplane
different
could
things.
take.
yeah,
Hold on, Sean, real
absolutely.
quick. The
Why do you keep
airplane
saying
has
hang on?
options.
I was in the middle of something. I don't get it,
Because he
Jeremy.
just got done talking. I just wanted to reiterate it.
But
But
I
go
wasn't
ahead.
able to respond to what he said because you jumped in to say something. Remember,
Go
this is
ahead.
what I got muted for the other day.
No, go ahead, Sean. Go ahead, Sean. Did
Go
you hear what I
ahead, bro.
said? So yeah, because the plane has an engine, right? I can agree with the Globers in that the plane can fly wherever it wants, but it doesn't make it in the same reference frame as the Earth because it can fly wherever it wants. It's still in a
No,
separate
it's able
reference
to
frame,
correct
as well as
for
the
it. So you don't.
atmosphere.
The Coriolis effect is less prevalent because it's able to correct for it. Whereas a bullet traveling so much faster isn't able to correct for it. So it's very prevalent when you do these. When you go to a shooting range and shoot over a long distance, 1,500 yards, you're able to recreate the Coriolis effect over and over and over again.
Right. Okay. Now there's several factors that would contribute to it. Yes, the speed of the bullet would contribute to it. They also say because the bullet's smaller, it wouldn't be pushed by the atmosphere, right? It wouldn't be affected by the atmosphere the way the plane would because it's a
Yeah,
smaller, right? That's one
absolutely.
of the other
Yeah.
reasons. And the fact that it goes in a straight path and it doesn't have the engines or the cognizance to correct to be in the same tangential velocity. But the fact of the matter is the bullet would see a deviation if the Earth were spinning the way that they claim it does, even though it could be
It
barrel
does.
distortion and all the other things, right? Like that would regardless of that argument, it's in a separate reference frame, just as the plane is, right? So the
But it
plane's
does though.
not automatically in lockstep with the Earth because it's also a projectile of sorts, even though it can correct and it can be pushed maybe more by the atmosphere if it was all going in one direction. I agree with all
Okay.
those things.
So if a plane was able to travel 10 miles an hour, there would be pretty much no discussion of Coriolis at all. I'm talking zero. But as an object travels faster, the
Wait,
Coriolis
why?
effect becomes more prevalent. Because it'd be going too slow to, again, the faster an object goes on Earth, like over, the surface of Earth through its atmosphere, the more or the less it is in lockstep with the Earth's atmosphere. The same
But
way, if you
it has a
jump,
lot
the
to do
Earth
with everything else.
doesn't spin out from under you, huh?
But it's not
Say
just
again.
the speed. I agree with you about the speed having making it affect a different effect, right? The speed that it goes, that would contribute to it. But
Less or
also,
more of the
also,
effect.
how high it is, right? The altitude would make a difference.
Yeah.
The wind going in the opposite direction would make a difference. The dead reckoning or the actual cognizance of the pilot to correct for Coriolis would make a difference. There's so many factors that would make a difference
Those
that
things can affect bullets
you can't
too.
say just because it's going 10 miles an hour, it would be no discussion about Coriolis. It's already in a separate reference frame. Coriolis would happen automatically because not only is the atmosphere not in
But it would be
lockstep,
at
but
zero.
if it goes up in the air at a certain altitude, there's a greater circle, there's a greater diameter for it to travel
Okay.
around the Earth with, right? So there's
Yeah.
all those factors.
Yeah.
You can't just say it's just
Yeah.
the
So
speed.
if you're like at 200 miles above the surface of Earth, 10 miles an hour, you're going to see, quote unquote, that effect more. So yeah, you're right. It's not just speed dependent, but it is dependent of speed. It has something to do with what I'm saying. A bullet would be, its
Right. I
projection
agree.
would be affected
It has
by
something
wind
to
as
do with
well.
it. We agree. It has something to do with it. So what's your
Okay.
point?
My point is that with that, you can do tests that show it. And airplane, because it's able to correct for it, because it's going much slower than a bullet, it's less prevalent. That's why it's so hard for you guys to understand that a plane does correct for it, because it's so minuscule. But it would have to. And a plane
Well,
can drive
Planes
fly in
do
that
correct
straight
hold on,
for it.
line too.
wait a second. You said you guys, it's so hard for us to understand. Now I have to clarify what position you're coming from as a baller, because we can't say you guys when it comes to this argument, because you guys are all over the place. Some of you say the atmosphere does it for you automatically, like Rumpus, or you could,
Well,
or some of them say the pilot does it and he corrects, but then left lane's never taught for that, so that's out the window. And then you could
the
say, oh
best
well,
part is
fluid.
that
It's a fluid
I
that automatically moves it. The atmosphere moves it with it, but that wind's going all direction. And if it flies against that fluid, it's not going to be moving faster in the opposite direction.
because okay, and that's why I came in, because when you make that description and understanding of what different people are saying, I get what they're saying and it makes sense. But
Wait, which one do you agree with?
you're taking our position where we understand how jet streams and the atmosphere above the surface is working with it, and you're taking it as if when you leave the surface, suddenly Earth should be spinning under you, and it doesn't
It
work that way. You can't conflate the both and make
is
it one
by
argument.
your own parameters. By your own parameters. You look up Coriolis effect. It says that all projectiles, including airplanes, are subject to the Coriolis effect. Right there, you can't say that it's not. It's not affected by this. It's not subject to the same corrections it would need to make, or atmosphere pushing it, or whatever else I don't know which your position is. What do you think it actually, how do you think that the plane lands on a stationary Earth when it needs 500 miles more per hour, 500 mile per hour more? How do you
I'll
think
try
it
this.
treats
I'll
the
try to do this
stationary?
one more time. I'll
Wait,
try to do
what's
it
your
one more
position?
time.
Atmosphere corrects it,
Okay.
or the pilot corrects it?
Let,
Which
let,
one are
okay,
you?
let me make it very clear, because I know for a fact Rumpus does not say what I'm about to say. I've never heard a Glober explaining this to you guys ever say it this way.
Okay,
When
great.
a plane is landing
So you
on
guys don't
Earth,
all agree. That's my point. You don't all agree.
okay, but again, you're conflating what's said to make it something else, and it's a very strong gaslight. It's crazy that you're doing it, and I keep saying it, and then you ignore it. So make sure you listen to this
Wait,
one
real
part.
quick though, I'm
Hang
not
on.
gaslighting. I'm just trying to figure this out. I'm not trying to
Okay, I know.
gaslight or do strategy or tactics or any of that. I'm just trying to make sure that we're all on the same page.
Okay. Well,
Go
then
ahead.
here's the part. Here's the disconnect between what I'm trying to say and what you're trying to say. When a
Mhm.
plane takes off, it is not completely independent of Earth in its rotation. So there is no reason that, say, a plane's going 100 miles an hour versus 500 miles an hour, that when it lands, it has to gain or subtract that speed to catch up with Earth, because it is within its rotation. It is. The
Well,
atmosphere rotates, the Earth rotates, and anything inside of it is rotating from the start. So the second that plane takes off, it's already within the Earth's rotation. It doesn't have to correct and speed up or slow down for that.
Wait a minute now. First of all,
Wait.
I
Just
didn't
remember
say it
something.
was. I
Hang
didn't
on.
say it
I
was
just remembered
completely
something that needs to
separate
be
and it
added to
wouldn't be
that.
affected. Wait,
There's
just go
something I
ahead.
should add to that.
Go
Then
ahead.
there's
Go
something I
ahead.
need to add. If that plane goes 200 miles up, it does need to correct for different things and different variations because, like we said, speed and altitude would make that difference. But for the
Right.
average airplane, what I'm saying is how it works.
Right. But you're saying that you wouldn't have to make, and it would automatically be in that tangential velocity because it was moving with the Earth when it took off. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. So
But
if the Earth
if
is
it takes off
rotating at
at
a
a,
thousand miles an hour
uh,
per day, or one
yeah,
rotation per day
at
is a
the
better way of
equator,
saying
at
it,
the equator.
then when that plane takes off, it's going one revolution a day already. So
Right.
it's
But there's a
already
difference.
now. Remember, like we said,
Hold on.
now if this thing
Wait a
goes
minute, Sean.
way,
Let's make the
yeah,
distinction. Like one
mhm,
revolution, right, isn't the same as moving 500 miles per hour as opposed to 1,000 miles per hour.
you're
It's
right,
not the same.
and that's why when the plane takes off going west, it doesn't stay in one spot at 500 miles an hour, or it doesn't, or
It would
Earth doesn't
lose.
leave it in its dust.
It would lose by going west. It would lose eastward momentum. Yes or no?
And that's why when you take an airplane, if you fly an airplane, going east is so much faster than going west.
Okay, but wait a minute. Answer my question. When it
Yes.
has a 500 mile tangential velocity where it takes off from, that's the conserved momentum that we assume. We're going to beg the question by saying it's
And
moving with
it's
the Earth at
it's
500 miles per hour.
going
Wait, don't cut me
and it's
off.
going in the same
Don't cut me
direction as
off.
rotation,
Okay.
right?
Go in the same eastward direction with the Earth if it was a ball, right? Now it
Mhm.
flies west. It's going to lose eastward momentum just by flying west. Yes or no?
Yes.
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 So if it goes west
Wait, not momentum.
southwest,
I'm sorry,
wait, hold
not
on.
momentum, but flight distance
Tangential
over
velocity.
travel.
Tangential velocity. It will lose
Yes.
eastward tangential velocity by
Yes. Yes.
flying west, right?
Okay.
Now, if it goes west southwest all the way to the equator, strictly flying west southwest, and it's going to meet a city that's now moving 1,000 miles per hour eastward, but it's lost. It's going west southwest, and it goes to a city on the equator, flying all the way to the equator, where that city's moving 1,000 miles an hour,
Ooh,
but it's lost its eastward tangential velocity by flying west. So it
okay,
needs
but
to
again,
gain
the
500 miles per hour, but
no.
it lost its original tangential velocity, which you
Again,
just
the
agreed to.
city isn't coming at that plane at 1,000 miles an hour.
No, it's moving 1,000 miles per hour
Like if the plane
consistently,
took off
regardless of
and it
what the plane
hovered
is
right
doing.
there, if the plane hovers over one location, it's not going to watch that city coming at it at 1,000 miles an hour.
According to the globe model, it would have
No,
to.
no, no.
No,
Again, the
yes,
globe
according to
model does
Zanick, it
not.
would have to.
Again. Fuck. Okay, I don't care what Zanick. I don't care what Rumpus. I don't care what Koch. I don't care
Well,
what
then you have
any
to
of them
explain it
say.
and make sense of it. How does it
Okay,
gain more
you're
eastward momentum
gaslighting.
when it? You wait,
You're
hold on. You just wait, hold on, wait,
gaslighting.
Sean. You just
Yeah, we gotta
agreed.
have one at a
Wait,
time.
hold on, wait. You just agreed,
Doing great.
Sean, that if it goes west, it's going to lose eastward tangential velocity. You just
Yes,
agreed
but
with
I
it.
never. But again, it is within Earth's rotation. And what I keep saying you're gaslighting is because I say that, and then you make it as if when the plane takes off, it is no longer part of the Earth's rotation, and everything under it should be coming at it at one revolution per
No,
day.
wait,
It
no, strong
doesn't
man.
work that way.
I'm saying, I'll beg the question with you and give you the 500 mile per hour original conserved momentum. That's all you get. You don't get more, or you don't get more eastward tangential velocity because you're flying west southwest, where you would lose it, like you just agreed. You would lose eastward tangential velocity by flying west. So you would
You're
need
still in.
500
Okay,
miles per hour more by the time you
no.
get there. So you would be out of sync with the Earth. Yes, dude.
Again. See, you saying out of
How
sync?
does it end up flying? How does it end up going faster eastward by the time it gets to the equator than its original conserved momentum? How does it do that when it only flew west southwest? How does it gain? How does it end up going faster in the opposite direction when it's traveling against the spin? That's what you have to answer. Make sense of it. Well, regardless of what Zanick says, how do you make sense of it? Do we have the cricket sound effect?
But remember, at the end of the day, the effect is negligible. Pilots don't have to adjust for it, ironically.
My
The
bad.
effect is negligible only because it's stationary, though, Data. It's not negligible
I
at the end of
know
the day because it's a
I
spinning
get
ball.
it.
It's
I get it.
negligible because the only way it works is as if it's stationary. If it was spinning,
Okay,
it would be
More
exactly like
importantly,
a
new
hockey
perspective.
stick.
let's just ignore the senses for the most part, yeah, and then use
New
some
perspective. Let
mathematics.
me ask you a simple question, real quick. When you're on a merry-go-round and it's spinning and it's already moving and you jump, are you moving with the merry-go-round?
Yeah.
Okay. When a merry-go-round is moving, or better yet, if it's not moving and you're able to jump 10 feet just for shits and giggles, and someone spins that around when you jump, so you're in the air and then they spin it around, are you spinning with that merry-go-round?
The laws of conserved momentum still apply. Yeah.
Simple. It's a very no. You're not. You're going to be in one spot, and everything under you is going to be spinning. If you jump
Right.
and they spin it, right? Which one do you think the globe model adheres to? The first example or the second?
You'd have to explain them. Have to
Okay.
distinguish them again.
Okay. You're standing on a merry-go-round that is spinning around, right?
Right.
So you're on it. You're standing there. When you jump and then you
Yeah.
land, are you
Right.
moving with the merry-go-round even when you've left the surface of the merry-go-round?
To some degree, yes. Just not completely in sync, but to some degree, you would be. Yeah.
Perfect. Now, if it's not moving and you're standing on it, you jump, and at the same time, someone spins it under you.
Right.
Are you moving with the merry-go-round?
No.
Okay. Which example is what the globe model explains?
Well, obviously, that's like. Are you trying to straw man me by saying that
No,
I
I'm
think it's
literally.
not moving at
This is
all with the
this is
Earth?
no. This is me trying to understand what you think the globe model says. So, which
Right.
example
But
would
you're
you say
saying that.
the globe model?
Right.
Hang
I'm
on, just
saying.
answer it. But just answer it.
I'm saying
Which one is
no.
the globe model?
The globe model saying you're moving with it because you're already moving with it. That's obvious,
Okay,
right?
so then if that's the case, when you're making this argument to me about a plane and it moving southwest, which
Yeah.
one are you contributing that example to?
Well, I'm saying it would make a difference. Like that'd be then if you were standing in that spot, moving with the merry-go-round, right? And you were able to jump 10 feet, like you're saying, or whatever, and you were to jump in the southwest against the spin of the merry-go-round to the outer edge of the merry-go-round, you would be caught up, and you would hit the surface because it would be moving at a different pace than you would be moving eastward, and you would trip. It would
Do
make
you
you
not
Can I
hear
fall
this?
to
just
the
try to
floor.
sum it up? Let me just
You
try to
wouldn't
sum
land
it up
on it.
real
You
quick.
wouldn't land on it as if it's stationary.
Wait,
And
Okay,
Jeremy.
let me
that's
just
the
try to
example.
sum up
No,
what
no,
the issue
Jeremy.
is. He's saying when you move.
Jeremy, the explanation
uh,
he just gave, which one would you contribute that one to?
Hold
The
on.
one
Let
he
me
just
let
made.
me just try to see if I can
Why
steel
can't anyone
man
just
his.
answer the question?
I don't know. Let me see if I can steel man his argument real quick. You're saying when you're take off in a plane and you're at 500 miles an hour tangential speed with the Earth.
Right.
You're in the
Making this up.
plane. You're flying. You're at 500 miles an hour tangential speed.
Right.
You're gonna now go south or whatever to an
West,
area that's
southwest.
501. You're gonna go to an area that has a new tangential speed. How do I pick up or lose or gain tangential speed? Is that your argument?
Well, yeah, but if you're going against the spit, okay, so I asked
So that's the
GPT, not that
basis
Chat,
though of your argument,
right?
right?
No, but see, the thing is you're not going to be, you can't be moving faster eastward, Jeremy, when you went west, because you would lose your eastward momentum just by the very fact that you're flying west, which Sean agreed to.
Okay, so your argument is that when you move to an area of new
Jeremy, all you do is
tangential speed.
complicate this. All you're doing is
Okay, go ahead.
complicating
Go
this.
ahead.
He's trying to
Yeah, my
understand
bad.
it,
Go ahead.
though. He's
I
trying to
gave two
understand
very
it.
simple explanations, and both of you can't just say which explanation makes what.
No, but I
Eventually
totally,
did,
what do you mean?
but then in his
I
argument,
answered
he
your
acts like he
question.
didn't say it. No, you
No,
did. You did. You did.
I
You
answered
did.
your question, yeah.
Okay.
And
Now,
I'm saying
Jeremy,
it would be a variation because the outer
it's
edge
not
of the
both.
merry-go-round is moving faster than the inner part
Again,
of the
it's
merry-go-round.
not both, though.
No,
It can't
it's
be
not.
both
You're saying
examples.
it's one way or the other as if it would just be in
Yes.
the same tangential velocity, but it doesn't work that way
No.
because we have the outer edge moving
In my
faster, so
example,
it ruins it.
no. In my example, it was either you're moving with the merry-go-round even when you jump, or when you jump, the merry-go-round is moving under you. There's only two examples. There's only two ways this could work.
No, you're
Yes,
saying,
okay.
listen,
Again, if
wait a
Earth
minute,
is
Sean. Listen,
if Earth is
I'm
rotating,
steel
hang
manning your
on,
position.
hang on.
Listen, I'm steel
If
manning your
Earth
position.
is rotating, no. If Earth is rotating, it can only be one. Sorry.
No, You're making a straw man of it. You're saying that
No,
I'm
no,
saying
I'm not. You're
it's either
gaslighting
not
me, and
connected.
it's
No, no,
weird.
no, no. Wait, Sean. Just be calm and listen. Okay.
Okay.
I'm strong. I'm steel manning the position of the globe by saying, okay, we'll give you the conserved momentum of eastward of tangential velocity when it takes off. Right. We'll give you that because that's how the globe model says it would happen. We can see that with conserved momentum in certain examples where it's going in a linear direction. Forget that it's going in a curved direction, which would mess it up anyway. But let's just say it would be moving with the Earth at 0 miles per hour in relation to the ground, but moving in this 500-mile eastward direction, right? So I'm saying, yeah, that's the way the globe model would work. But when it goes in the opposite direction, now if it starts flying westward, it's not going to keep moving faster and faster eastward with the spin as it goes to the outer edge because it's flying in the opposite direction. So it can't gain momentum or gain more tangential velocity in the opposite direction. It's a contradiction. You don't get that?
Again, when you make that example, you're saying the plane is no longer part of Earth's atmosphere in its rotation.
No, I'm saying it's a variation. It's going to lose eastward momentum over time. Over time, it will.
If the airplane is in the atmosphere, it is always within its Earth rotation. Always. It can't be both.
Then how does it fly against the spin?
When you get out of Earth's rotation, when you change your tangential, hold on, I can explain it. You get out of, Earth is the non-inertial. You get out of Earth's thing by when you change your tangential speed. So when you move from 500 to 501, you're not going in sync with the Earth. You just change your tangentials. That's why the Coriolis effect happens in your model.
Yeah, but they can't say that it would automatically be moving at the faster speed. They can say that it could bank east if it was going directly south, but when you're going west southwest, it's going to lose eastward tangential velocity rather than gain it. That's my point. I don't know how many times I can say it over and over again.
Yeah,
and you agreed it would lose. You agreed it would lose. You agreed, Sean, that it would lose eastward momentum. It would lose its eastward momentum because it's traveling in the opposite direction. I don't know why you agreed to that. Now you're saying it's either one way or another, and it's automatically in sync.
Okay. Well, I tried to explain it, and then you take it out of Earth's atmosphere. It doesn't make any sense. That's why we
not taking it out of the atmosphere. I'm saying even with the atmosphere moving with the Earth.
If you're not doing that, then at no point is Earth just spinning under a plane.
No, I'm not saying it's not. Okay, it's spinning separately, right? But you have this conserved momentum where you're assuming that the plane's moving along with it. But that 500 miles per hour has to change to 1,000.
I know you can hear me. It is not spinning separate of the plane.
Yes, it is. Otherwise, there'd be no Coriolis.
You don't understand the globe model.
Okay,
when you
so
change
the
your
globe model,
tangential
there is no
speed,
Coriolis.
hold on, new perspective. Hold on. When you change your tangential speed, that's when you've changed it from the Earth's rotation. You're no longer rotating with the Earth. You just moved from one spot where you were in sync to a spot where you're out of sync.
You are still within.
That's why you get the Coriolis effect.
Rotation. Listen, you are still, no matter which direction you go, in any direction, you are still within Earth's rotation. And we made it very clear that, at 200 miles up, it may be different, but we're talking about an airplane at 30,000 feet, and no matter what direction it goes, it is within Earth rotation.
Okay. So throughout the plane's course of its whole flight, it's in Earth's rotation. That's your claim. Throughout the whole course of the plane's flight, it's in Earth's rotation. Is that your claim? Get the cricket sound effect.
Yeah. And what about when it goes into the
perspective? Hold on a second. What would you say, Sean?
Yeah.
Hold on. Give me 2 seconds.
5 times now.
Huh?
I've said yes.
I didn't hear. Hold on. New perspective. Hold on 1 second.
I'm not saying anything.
New perspective. Hold on 1 second, please. Sean,
Dude, it's me talking, Jeremy. What the fuck?
He keeps talking every time. What do you mean?
I'm not talking.
Don't ask me again. I've answered 5 times now. 5 times in a row I've answered.
Is it? And somebody has overtalked you every time. Is it within Earth?
Every time I've answered it, you tell someone else to shut up. It's me saying it over and over.
Okay. Throughout the court, nobody else talk for 5 seconds, please. Throughout the course of the whole flight of the plane, is it within Earth's rotation?
Again, Jeremy, I've answered this 6 times, not doing it again. Listen, no one's talking. I haven't heard anyone talk besides me and you. And when I answer it, you tell New Perspectives to stop talking. He wasn't talking.
So you're not going to answer it then?
You, Jeremy.
Can you just say yes or no?
Fuck you.
Okay, well,
What do you mean, dude? I didn't hear you. New Perspective was talking. I promise. Somebody else was
he
talking. I was
wasn't.
asking him to be quiet.
It was
He wasn't
Sean.
talking.
It was Sean.
He even said he wasn't talking. It was me
wasn't- but
talking.
Jeremy,
the whole
Jeremy, I
time.
heard him very. Okay, wait, stop, you guys. This is ridiculous.
Can we just get an
worry
answer to
about
the
who was
question?
talking.
Forget who was
I
or
heard him
wasn't.
very clearly.
Can we please just get an answer to
clearly.
the question, Sean?
He said, "At no time is the Earth is the plane moving at a separate pace from the Earth." He said, "At no time." Is that correct, Sean?
Yes, thank you, New Perspective.
Okay, so then when it goes into the jet stream, is it still in the exact rotation with the Earth?
It has a lot more variables, but yes.
Wait, so it's going 200 miles per hour faster, the jet stream? No.
No, but it depends. Depends on where in the jet stream it is. Depends on the direction it's trying to travel within that jet stream or against it. It all matters.
Well,
It's
how
not
can you
just
say it's
one
spinning exactly with the Earth when it's going 200 miles per hour within the jet stream?
I said no. Again, I said it is within Earth's rotation. There's a difference between what you just said and within Earth's rotation. And in the very simple example of it is the merry-go-round I just said.
Right, but the merry-go-round doesn't solve it for you. You can't just say because it's moving with the merry-go-round when it starts off, it's always going to be in the same reference frame and same tangential velocity, because we have a jet stream, first of all, which is moving 200 miles per hour faster than the Earth is supposedly spinning, right? So that's going to knock it out of that tangential velocity. When it comes out of the jet stream, how can you say it's spinning exactly with the Earth when the jet stream was going 200 miles per hour faster than the Earth? How can you say it's automatically in that new tangential velocity?
Okay, because that jet stream is also within Earth's rotation.
But it's going 200 miles per hour faster.
Yes.
So you're talking about a difference in tangential velocity.
So So do you think that the jet stream goes in different direction? Like it goes west one time and it goes
with
east.
the spin. It would go with the spin if the Earth were the ball, or it would just be 200 mile per hour jet stream above a stationary Earth.
Okay.
One or the other.
Okay. And if that were the case, we'd be watching jets hit that jet stream and instantly doing 1,000 miles an hour. But we don't see that.
No.
Right?
They do 200. No, it's only 200 miles per hour. But you have to think it's 1,200 miles per hour because you add on top of that.
On top.
Right. If it was a ball, it would be 1,200 miles per hour.
Okay. Again, that's if it wasn't within its spin. If it was independent of Earth's rotation, everything you're saying is correct. But again, it's not that way.
What do you mean? It's not that way. You agree it's 200 miles per hour faster than the spin of the Earth if it was spinning, right?
Yes. But okay.
So
it is also going within the Earth's rotation.
But 200 miles per hour faster than the Earth is rotating.
Yeah.
Okay,
so if you weren't on Earth,
totally knocks your argument out of the park.
Here's a perfect way of putting it. If you weren't on Earth, you were in the middle of space watching all that we're talking about right now, right?
Yeah.
That jet stream is going, okay, just for shits and giggles, because I know everyone hates when people use the miles per hour. At the equator, 1,000 miles an hour, then you'd be watching that jet stream at the equator go 1,200 miles an hour.
That's what I just said.
Okay, that's only if you're not within that reference. Within that reference, again, within Earth rotation. If you're outside in space, what you're saying is correct. But what I'm trying to explain to you is that
We're saying the same thing.
No, we are, but the reference frame is different. Because what you're saying for the plane on Earth, in Earth's atmosphere, is the same thing as someone who's watching this from space. And what I'm trying to explain to you is when we're explaining this, it's not that way. We are on Earth. The plane is on Earth. Therefore, it is within Earth's rotation. It's not us watching it from space.
What you just said made no sense.
Okay, I'll say it slowly. The
not to
reference
me,
frame,
to anybody, bro, because
it's
1,200 miles per hour.
I'll do it again.
200 miles per hour faster than the spin. We agree on that.
Okay, so if you're on Earth, you're standing on Earth, and you're measuring the jet stream. How fast is the jet stream going?
200 miles per hour.
Why isn't it going 1,200 on the globe model?
Well, in the globe model, from that other reference frame, that would be 1,200. Yeah, we're not.
No. See, you did it again. The reason the jet stream Okay, the reason on Earth, when you measure the jet stream, it's 200 miles an hour.
It's because
And
it's
the reason
stationary.
why, listen, it's 200 miles an hour. And then when you go out into the middle of space and do the observation, it's going 1,200 miles an hour. Why is there a
Right?
difference?
Because you're talking about the Earth's rotation on top of the 200, or 200 on top of the
Okay,
Earth's rotation.
okay. Now,
I don't not get
now
that.
put a plane. Now, if you add and you put a plane into this example, the plane is going within the Earth's rotation the same way the jet stream is. But when you explain it, the way I keep trying to explain the differences, when you're explaining it, you're acting as if the reference frame is from the middle of space. No, what we're talking about is
not at all.
on Earth.
I'm
Okay,
talking
then
about reality, dude. I'm not
don't
talking
say
about
Earth
reference
is
frame.
spinning under the plane, because the only time Earth would be spinning under anything is if you're in the middle of space.
No, it's not true.
Okay. Again, it is
You're
true,
saying
and
there's
that's
no
not.
Coriolis
And
effect.
again, you were
You're
trying to
saying
steel man the
the
globe
Coriolis
model, and
effect
you're
is
not
not a
saying it
factor.
correctly.
Are you saying the Coriolis effect is not a factor when flying? Is that what you're trying to say?
Don't straw man, because I didn't say that at all.
Okay, well, the Coriolis effect is the difference between the ground movement and the plane movement eastward. That's what the Coriolis effect is caused by.
Okay,
as well as other things. Speed, all the things we went, all those
no one is
variations.
contesting.
So the
Not once did
reason
I
that
say contesting differently. But the difference between the two is that when you're talking about a plane traveling, you're acting as if the plane isn't moving and Earth moving under it, and that
no,
the
not
city
at all.
is coming.
Not at all.
Okay, you're saying the city was coming at you at 1,000 miles an hour, didn't you?
Nope, I
When you're
didn't
doing
say
the
that.
Southwest.
Nope, I
Okay,
didn't say
explain it
that.
again.
I would
So
say,
what do you?
I
What
said,
do
now
you
let
need to
me,
gain?
wait, hold on, you're misunderstanding it. I'm saying that the city that it's traveling to is moving at 1,000 miles an hour. Now, when you start out, you only have 500 miles per hour eastward, right? So you're going to have to gain 500 by the time you get there. Incrementally,
Again,
you would have to
the
gain 500
only
to be in the same
time that
tangential
would
velocity.
happen,
Is
the
that
only
not
time
true?
that would happen is the plane was independent of Earth's rotation. It's not even going. And here's again, this is why speed matters. It's not going fast enough for that to even be possible. It doesn't need to
Wait,
gain or
what are
lose
you talking
500
about?
miles an
These are
hour
just
to
your
get there.
globe model parameters, dude.
Again, you don't understand the globe model then.
Well, no, your globe model says that the equator is moving at 1,000 miles an hour, and as you taper up, the North Pole is moving at 0 miles an hour. Correct?
No, I don't think it's zero, but again,
Well, whatever. It tapers up, right? So you would
and
start with a
everything within
lower tangential velocity.
here's
That's
the
just
part
your
that I
globe
think you're
model. I'm not saying anything
again. No,
against your
it's
globe
not.
model. This is what your globe model says.
Your understanding of the globe model, but it is not the globe model, because
Okay,
again,
tell me how it's different.
everything within that is within Earth's rotation. It is not separate of it.
Okay, there's no
If you go,
Coriolis
okay,
effect.
how about this? The only way for Earth to be spinning under you and you being completely independent of it is one speed. You know what that speed is? 24,000 miles an hour. It's the speed that a rocket takes to leave Earth's atmosphere and be independent of Earth's rotation. Again, speed, altitude matters. But what we're talking about is an airplane, and you don't understand.
Down.
I'm
Tony,
fine. I'm calm.
settle down, Tony, please.
My bad, Brian.
No, Sean, listen. If it starts out with 500 miles per hour, conserve momentum. It's not the same as the 1,000, correct?
Okay. Is the plane when from space? Is the plane going?
I don't care about
How
from
fast
space.
is the plane
Talking
going?
about reality. Talking about your
in
globe model.
reality,
Does your globe model say
the plane is
that it would
within Earth's
start with
rotation?
in your globe model? Does your globe model say that it would start with a lower tangential velocity when it tapers up towards the north? Does your globe model say that?
No, the plane doesn't need to gain speed or
Wait, hold
lose
on.
speed.
I'm just asking, does your globe model say that there's tapering 500, 300? Does your globe model say that, or do you think it doesn't say that?
Oh, for the plane or just rotation? The plane or rotation?
The rotation is slower as it goes right.
Yes.
So the plane starts out slower than its destination is traveling, correct?
No. Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. And no, it does not have to gain anything or lose anything for that, because the Earth
so it would just keep its 500
or under it.
So then if it conserved all of that 500 miles per hour, right?
Conserving it.
It wouldn't. Well, if it kept its eastward 500 miles per hour, then it wouldn't be in sync if it went straight to the equator, right? If it were able to just vanish and reappear on the equator, and the equator would be moving 500 miles per hour faster eastward than the plane, correct?
We have
established
it is not
take this idea.
100%.
Let me walk you through it so you can see that your globe model contradicts itself. You don't have to get all excited and start yelling over me.
It's
you
not
agree,
100%
right?
in sync.
Let me just, or regardless, okay, if it could disappear and reappear right on the equator, The equator would be moving 500 miles per hour faster than the plane,
Not
correct?
reality. It's not reality.
No, I know it's not reality.
And as it's flying,
It's just to give you. It's just so you can understand what I'm saying. If it could reappear on the equator, then the equator would be moving faster eastward than the plane is. Correct?
yes. In that
Right.
mythical example, yes.
Okay. So then, if it moves towards the equator, the idea is that it would have to gain that eastward incrementally. It would have to gain that eastward momentum.
No, it changes
its
its heading.
sync with the Earth.
It changes its heading.
Changes the setting. What does that mean?
Heading.
It's heading.
Direction.
Okay. And what does that do?
It changes its direction.
It changes its direction.
Okay,
What do you mean? What direction?
So
Which
look,
direction?
okay, perfect. Okay, so if you start the North Pole and you're flying to the equator, a specific location that's southwest of your location. When you're flying to it, you're not flying straight to it as if nothing's moving. So imagine Earth's not rotating. You would fly directly to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, in this example, that heading is 89. It's not really 89. No one tried to correct me. It's 89. When that plane takes off in this example,
89.
what it does is it takes a heading for a calculated 65. And that 65, and for that amount of time, and that speed, and this is what plane pilots have to do. This is why they're smart. They calculate that, and they figure out what heading they need to take so that that isn't an issue. Because again, yes, you are right. If they take off at the North Pole and they take that straight line from before they started, they will not be there. It will be somewhere else. Yes, that's why they take a heading.
Right. Like because you would account for the spin of the Earth, you would go more south rather than going straight there. Like the thing I just posted, right? Like that's the flight path we're given from Chicago to LA, and it goes straight there. But like you're saying, because the Earth's moving independently of the plane, it would go more south.
Stop saying that. See, you did it again. You did it again. Stop saying independent.
You just did it. You said it would account for the spin.
Again, I never said independent. You keep doing that, and that is the gaslight. Stop saying that. The model does not say that.
You just said it would account for.
Never said independent.
What were you just trying to explain with the careful flight planning?
The headings and everything? That would be
you said that would be fly straight there. It would account for.
Oh my God. Again, let me make this clear. Because Earth spins, because of that tangential speed that you're talking about, because of Earth's rotation, it can't do that straight line. I've already said that. But make this clear. There's a heading that it would take. When it does that, at no point ever have I said it, or does the globe model state it, is the plane and Earth's rotation independent of each other. Stop saying it.
Well, then I'm not saying it. I'm saying that
you said it 3 times.
You're saying because wait, hold on, Sean, walk back what you just said. You said it can't take that straight path to LA because the Earth's spinning, right?
Yes. Hold on, real quick.
The reason, hold on, wait. Let me walk him through it. That path from Chicago to LA, you couldn't take that straight.
Can you guys start over real quick?
He just said it. Sean, you just said it couldn't take that straight path because the Earth is spinning, right?
Because of Earth's rotation.
Right. So why would it take a different path if it's never out of the reference frame?
Because it is negligible. Again, when you say independent, you're saying independent, you're saying that the plane is not part of the Earth's rotation. It always is.
Saying it is. It is from the start. It had 500 miles per hour tangential velocity. That's part of the Earth's rotation. I'm saying it is.
I'm not going to explain it again. I'm only going to point out when you fucking gaslight the fuck out of the globe model.
I'm not gaslighting, dude. I'm trying to walk you through your own statements and show you.
You can't do that because I never once said independent. So why is independent coming out of your mouth?
Because you're saying it wouldn't be able to take the straight path because the Earth is rotating. God. So how would the Earth? Wait, hold on. I'm not trying to even start. I'm trying to steelman you. Why would Sean, why would the path be different because of the Earth's rotation? Tell me that.
Because I am not saying that it has nothing to do with Earth's rotation. That Earth's rotation.
I'm not saying it either. I'm not saying it has nothing to do with it. Don't straw man me to answer the question.
Okay, look.
You're saying it would be a different path. Why would it be a different path?
Again,
why would it be a different path? Why would the Earth's rotation matter at all?
It does have something to do with it. You're saying it's independent. It's not independent.
The only way it would have to change its path is if it was somewhat independent or however much you want to get it.
not separate and it's not independent. I'm not sure why for the past 45 minutes you don't hear that.
Why are you getting mad
I'm
when I'm
saying
trying to steel man your argument
He
and
does hear it.
explain
It's
why
just stupid. You're not
it's
listening.
so stupid, dude?
Okay, then I guess it's
Sean,
just me.
you're saying that you couldn't take this.
Misunderstanding of
You're
it.
saying you couldn't take the
You
straight
gotta
path
chill
there.
out, guys. It's becoming a
Right?
little bit unbearable.
It really
it's
is.
ridiculous.
I'm not going to repeat myself anymore. It's ridiculous.
Well, no,
And
but
again, I never
Sean,
once did I say
you're
independent
contradicting
or
yourself and
separate.
you don't realize it.
Great.
No, I'm not. I'm not at all. Because never once
Conversation
did I
will be
say
better for
separate
it when you're
or
done.
independent of. Never once.
All right.
And you keep
Let's let
saying
somebody
it.
else talk. Can somebody else that understands what I'm trying to say explain it to Sean, or just take over for Sean and try to reiterate why he's contradicting himself, please? SD, is that flack I hear?
How about this? How about you give him 30 seconds? He says his piece, and then you can respond.
All right,
Because
try
at this
that.
point, I really don't know what you guys are saying. Honestly,
Well,
I'll be honest.
do you see SD what I just posted in the live stream where it goes that straight path from Chicago to LA, right? The west southwest path. Sean
Right.
just said that it wouldn't be able to take that straight path because of the Earth's rotation. But at the same time, he's saying that the plane's never out of the reference frame with the Earth, but it would change its path because of the rotation. So it's a contradiction in my mind. And maybe he could explain why it's not.
Is that what you're saying, Sean?
I'm not going to lie. I didn't hear what he just said. I was doing something.
You're saying that the path would change, Sean, because of the Earth's rotation, right?
Yes, it does change. There's a different
why?
heading at a planet because it is part of Earth's rotation. Because it does have it is part of flying. It does matter. The Earth is not 100% in lockstep with the airplane because it's not just spinning like that. Again, let me make this very clear, and I'll say this will be the last time. This will be the last time I have to explain it, so that way it's not like
that was totally incoherent. Does everybody else agree with me that
yes,
made no sense?
Let me finish. Let me clarify
again
without you saying that. Okay, here we go. Ready? You ready? When a plane takes off from the North Pole, the Earth's rotation with what it is within still has to be accounted for, which is why Coriolis is a thing. And because of that, a guy, he will not fly and go straight for where he's going while he's sitting on an airport. He will take a heading because it does matter. It is not separate. It is not independent of Earth's rotation, because if it was, then when the plane looks down, it would be watching Earth rotate under it, like the merry-go-round example I gave. It is not both. It is one way. If you don't understand how everything matters, if you don't understand how everything is accounted for, because everything matters in this situation, I don't know what to say. But never once have I said the airplane is independent and or separate completely of the Earth's rotation to make it like New Perspective keeps saying.
New Perspective. Please let me clear something up. Please, bud. Please. Because he's getting it wrong and you're not correcting him. That's why this is never going to go anywhere.
That's why I'm not trying to correct him at all.
Thanks. Let me go real quick.
He's contradicting himself. He's doing it all for us, Jeremy. Go ahead.
Or not. It's fine. Go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
Okay. In order to have Coriolis, something has to be moving independent of something else. That's how you get Coriolis effect. So every time you keep saying,
I've already said that.
Every time you keep saying it's not independent of the Earth, you're wrong.
I said not completely. Let me make this clear. He's making it as if your reference frame is outside of Earth's rotation. It is not.
That's what Coriolis effect is, bro.
Yes, you had the planes in the inertial frame.
For the same reason, a plane at 500 miles an hour is going to have, you're going to see less of the effect than a bullet doing 1,000, means that it is not either or. That's what I keep saying.
It's literally in a different frame, because if it was in the same frame, there would be no Coriolis. It has to be in a different frame, meaning independent of that frame, in order for there to be Coriolis. So it is moving independent of the Earth's rotation.
Exactly.
That's how you get Coriolis effect.
He's saying, and he was saying you'd have to change your path because of the Earth's rotation, but then it's not separate from the Earth in any way, which would be the reason you have to change your path. So you can't have it both ways.
Hold on, somebody's like moving some furniture or something.
Who's got the hot mic?
Not me.
I'll find it. I'll find it.
Probably not me.
All right, whoever that was. So, Sean, the reason it would change its path is because it's in a separate reference frame. Otherwise, there'd be no reason to change the path. Do you get that?
Yeah, you wouldn't have Coriolis effect if it was moving with it within the non-inertial reference frame the whole time. There's no Coriolis.
Yeah, and it wouldn't be able to.
The only reason you get Coriolis, the only reason you get Coriolis
Yeah.
is because it becomes inertial to the non-inertial reference frame. You
Right.
get a different speed. It's not moving with the non-inertial reference frame, which would be
Sean,
Earth in
do you
this
get
scenario.
Do you get that, Sean? He left, I guess.
He did. He left.
At least he's earned my respect because I think he's really one of those ballers that actually thinks we're on a ball and he doesn't understand the contradictions. He's not one of the ballers that actually knows we're on a flat Earth and is just arguing that side for some ulterior motive. So he's gained my respect that way, at least.
Tony's cool.
He is good. Tony is a little bit hyper sometimes. He got really mad because he was like contradicting himself. Every sentence was contradicted. You could feel the frustration building. He's saying this. He's saying the opposite thing right in a row. He's like, no, it's the same but different because the past changed, but it's not. It's like it's hilarious. Honestly, I'm not trying to laugh at him or gaslight him or any of those kind of things. It was just really funny to listen to. Sean, go back and listen to what you just said, and then make sense of it, and then come back and become a flat earther again because you can't make sense of this argument. I'm sorry. It's the end of the globe if you really understand it.
I mean, I still don't. Your argument, I think, is solved by is. Let me just steel man your shit.
All right.
Your argument is, yeah, this is a steel man of your argument. Just tell me yes or no. Is this correct? Yes or no? The plane takes off and the tangential speed is 500 miles an hour. It moves into an area that's 501 miles an hour. How does it gain that tangential speed? Is your question?
No, it's like if you're like, say you're going 500 miles per hour eastward, right? Now they want to say that the conserved momentum is always sticking with the plane or whatever, even though we realize that if it was flung from the Earth, like the 500 miles per hour doesn't come from the atmosphere. It doesn't come from anything else but just the mere fact that the plane was on the Earth at that latitude. You understand that to begin with?
No, that's
the only
incorrect.
reason.
That's incorrect.
No, the only reason
I don't understand that first part you said. Let's go back to that.
Okay.
Or you want to go forward?
The reason we have to give them the conserved momentum to start with is because the plane was on the Earth, moving at that speed with the Earth.
Yes, and the medium they move into is also moving. Like if you just rise up in a helicopter, for all intents and purposes, it's still moving at that speed.
But that's not what they say is the reason the plane's moving at that speed. It was because it was on the Earth. Do you realize that?
Because it's on the Earth, right. And the medium that it's in, is also basically going that speed.
Right, and so that's what they have to add in to say it helps it move along with the Earth because it's moving faster and faster as you get towards the equator. But my argument is if it goes west, right now they'll also say it banks east to correct.
So if it changes its tangential speed, your argument is if it changes its tangential speed, are we changing its tangential speed?
No, right, no. I'm saying that because it has the conserved momentum at 500 if we give them that, right? But when you fly west, you're going to be losing eastward momentum.
Are you changing your tangential speed?
You would be changing that tangential speed because it would decrease by going west. You can't.
Okay, so your argument is when we take off. Hold on. So your argument is when we take off and we change our tangential speed. Okay, go ahead.
Right. So you're changing it. You're taking away from your original conserved momentum by flying west. Because it's the opposite direction of your eastward momentum.
Okay, we take off, we change our tangential speed, then what's the next part?
Well, no, you're changing it. You're decreasing. You're taking away from the 500 by flying west because it's the opposite direction of your 500 miles per hour conserved momentum. Do you get that?
Bro, what's the last part of this argument, bro? You take off, you change your tangential
That's going
speed.
step by step.
Then what?
Jeremy, do you understand that it would be less than 500
I'm
that it's
trying to
moving
go step
eastward?
by step, bro. I'm
Right,
trying to go step by step. We took
Right.
off in
So
the
here's the
plane.
first step.
You take off in the plane. Bro, you gotta relax, bro. Just see if we're up to pace so far. Step 1, you take off in a plane. Step 2, you change your tangential speed. Then what?
Okay. Take off in the plane. We're assuming it's a tangential velocity eastward is 500 miles per hour. Yes? Because that's where the latitude it took off.
We're already past that. We already took off. We changed our tangential speed.
Let me walk
then
it
what?
through you. Right. The tangential speed to start off is 500. But because that's an eastward momentum, if you fly in the direction of west, you're going to lose from that 500. You're not going to add to the 500. You're going to take away from it because you're flying in the opposite direction. Do you get that? It wouldn't be continuing to move faster.
So we're on the equator. So this example's on the equator.
Well, if it's flying towards the equator, west-southwest, right?
No,
Just
hold
because
on.
it's going west-southwest in that angle,
I don't know.
it's flying against the spin. It's flying against the spin. So it's the opposite direction of east. So it's not going to gain more east because it's flying west. You get that?
Okay, so this is happening on the equator. You're saying this flight.
If it flew to the equator where it needed more, 500 miles per hour more to be in sync with that city, right? But it only flew west. It's actually taking away from its original conserved momentum, not adding more.
Okay, the only place you can fly and go west is on the equator, unless you're flying around on latitude lines. And is that how we're flying on a latitude line?
You get that the flight from Chicago to Los Angeles would be a west-southwest direction. It'd be at an angle down towards the equator. You get that? Chicago to LA.
I don't get it. Just let me see if I'm up to speed. We took off. We changed our tangential speed. What happens next? What's the next part to this?
Okay, let's say you take off. Your tangential speed is 500. You're not.
I agree. I agree with everything else.
When you say change your tangential speed, what do you mean by that?
Well, if you don't change your tangential speed, there's no Coriolis.
Well, regardless,
Coriolis. We changed our tangential speed.
Just picture the Earth. Let's just forget Coriolis for a minute, right? Just picture the Earth. Don't worry about the winds or any of that. Just picture that the Earth is spinning, right? And it has a faster speed at the equator than where it started off from, right? So it would have to gain. It would have to gain 500 miles per hour by the time it got to the equator, right? But if it just by flying west, which Sean just agreed with, just by flying west, you're losing your original eastward momentum because you're flying in the opposite direction. You understand that? You would go
flying west. Hold on, we're flying west towards
Chicago to LA. Let's just picture that. Chicago to LA.
Okay, so you're changing your. Okay, so you take off. You're at 500. Your tangential speed's changing. Your question is, how do we gain or lose tangential speed?
No, it's not my question. It's my statement of fact. If it goes west, it loses eastward momentum. It doesn't gain more. If it goes west,
okay, so your argument is
going to need more.
Okay, so your argument is what I said 10 minutes ago. When I said we take off, we change our tangential speed, then your argument is there's no way for us to gain or lose that tangential speed.
No, you would lose it. You would lose it for sure because your tangential velocity is 500 miles eastward, but then you would lose
so your argument is just let me get this down, because I'm trying to understand it, please. Your argument is we take off. I know. Just let me see if I understand it. We're taking off. We're going south. You know what? I don't know if the whole room even wants to hear this. You want to drop down on a live stream too?
No, we're almost there, Jeremy. We're almost there. Do it.
You take off going west. You're saying we would lose tangential speed. How do we gain the tangential speed?
Oh, well, west-southwest, that angle, right? Because it has to gain more since it's going towards a city that's moving faster than it originally did, but it's lost its momentum.
How does the plane gain its tangential velocity? Yes, that's your argument. It can't. That's your argument. It can't. Your argument is it can't gain its tangential velocity. Yes.
It can't gain. It can't gain. It would actually lose it. It would lose its original 500 because it's flying in the opposite direction. Plus, if it goes west-southwest, It would need a lot more if it got all the way to the equator, where it needed 500 miles per hour more eastward momentum or eastward tangential velocity, right? You never gain momentum, first of all, right? The plane's momentum when it takes off, that's just the momentum it has, right? That's just a given, conservation of momentum.
Unless
right?
I put it in a fluid, unless you put it in a fluid that's moving faster, then it would gain momentum.
Right. Well, you can argue that, but if you're going against that
That's
fluid
their
in the
model.
west direction,
That's their model,
right?
though. That's their model,
Well,
though.
I know, but I'm saying the model breaks because of the west-southwest.
Let me tell you something about the things Sean just said. A lot of the things were wrong. Okay, so I wouldn't go with your argument based off what Sean just said.
No, what Sean said was a mess, dude. Did you hear? Every sentence he said was contradicting himself. It was ridiculous. He made no sense at all, and it acted like we weren't making sense because he was so frustrated with the fact that it doesn't make sense in any logical way.
So I have a question on all this. Well, we just discussed for 20 minutes. Based on what you're saying, if I fly due east or due west, without flying north or south, only east or west, is my tangential speed changing?
That flight you just
Absolutely.
detailed can only happen at the equator unless you're flying latitude lines.
Hold on, Jeremy. I
What are
want
you
him
talking
to
about?
answer that question.
What are you talking about? Of course, if you go east, right? If you're automatically going 500 miles per hour eastward when you take off, if you go more east, then you're going to be going faster in that direction. Now your momentum's not going to change. You may add to that momentum by going east, or take away from it by going west. But your tangential velocity matters which direction you fly the plane. And if you fly towards the equator, where you're actually going to need more eastward momentum, then if you fly west-southwest, you're going in the opposite direction. So you're going to lose your original conserved momentum, plus you're going to need more, which you've already lost your original. So you're not going to gain your. It's like if you went to the equator where you needed 500 miles per hour more, that means that it would be somehow flying west-southwest the whole time in the opposite direction of the direction it needs more momentum, and it's going to be losing more. By the time it gets there, then you're saying it's going to be moving faster, 500 miles per hour faster than where it originally started off from. How can it be moving faster if it went against the rotation?
Hold on, Zanick.
If there was no atmosphere, you would be correct.
Hold on, Zanick. So, Jeremy, did I ask the question to him? Did he answer my question?
What was your question? You said would it gain or take away from the eastward momentum by going east or west, right?
My question was, if a plane takes off 500 miles an hour and flies only due east or west, not north or south, not northwest, southwest, whatever.
Okay.
Only east or west.
Yeah.
Does its tangential speed change? Only flying east and west.
Yes.
Okay, Jeremy, do you agree with that statement? And I'll answer for Jeremy because I know he does not agree with that statement.
Well, why don't you tell me why you disagree with that statement instead of worrying about what Jeremy thinks?
He agrees. He's saying it because he agrees with that concept. The momentum does change, by the way. You said you might have misspoke by accident earlier, but when you go eastward, you will gain tangential velocity, which means you will now gain momentum from the inertial reference frame.
There you go. So by that same logic, if you go westward, you would lose eastward momentum, correct? Zanick?
Absolutely correct. Yep.
All I'm saying. So if you go west-southwest, how do you gain more eastward momentum, Zanick?
Because you have an atmosphere to worry about. The atmosphere is imparting momentum, and that change of momentum is a force. That force is what actually accelerates that body to a higher, greater tangential velocity, thus a higher momentum state.
But you're saying that you're traveling west actually
Zanick,
takes away from your eastward momentum.
Hold on, Zanick I was arguing that was how the globe model says it, and you were arguing against me. Zanick, what is wrong with you?
Zanick knows how it would work if it was a spinning ball. He's acknowledging this correctly, except that he thinks, or he's trying to double speak and walk his way around it like he did for hours and hours before. Zanick, how does it gain more eastward momentum? Wait a minute, Zanick. Let's walk through it, Zanick. You just admitted that going westward would. Don't talk over me. You just agreed that going westward would make it lose eastward momentum, correct? You just said it.
Yes.
Right. So if it goes west-southwest and it needs more, it needs 500 miles per hour more than where it started and taking away from it, how's it going to gain more?
Why can't you stop when you say things? Just you hear me
Because I'm
talking.
trying to make the whole statement.
I know, but you
Zanick, you
keep on
agreed it would
going.
lose momentum. Wait a minute. You agreed it would lose momentum. So if it's going west-southwest where it needs 500 miles per hour more eastward momentum, but you just agreed it would lose eastward momentum, how does it go faster than where it started off from by the time it gets to the equator?
Because the atmosphere is actually changing tangent velocity as you travel southward, even if you're going south-southwest.
No, but you said that it would be losing the momentum by flying west-southwest. So you can't say it's gaining and losing at the same time.
Yeah, it is. It is gaining. For sure it is gaining. And so don't make
Gaining
me bring
and
out
losing?
the spinning. God, I know
It's
Jeremy's going to
and losing
appreciate this.
eastward
Let me
momentum
get
at
it
the
out.
same
Let
time?
me get it out. My God. Don't make me bring out the spinning hot tub, right, Jeremy?
Hey, Zanick,
torpedo
being
in
funny
this-
is not going to get you out of this.
It's not funny. It's actually very serious. This is serious stuff.
Yeah, because you could not come up with an argument. You were like, this is an argument I can't. You admitted to it when we talked. You were like, I don't know how to answer this.
No.
You said that it would bank south to correct so it could go more eastward by banking south. Now south is making it move directly eastward more.
Yes.
How is banking south making it move directly eastward more, Zanick?
Because the air mass is actually acting on that body. Remember, that tangential velocity is going. The tangential velocity of the air mass that it's flying in, and if it's water, it'd be much more dramatic. But let's just talk about the air being also a fluid, so it's still going to have a force on it. How much is, we have to dig a little deeper. But we go southward, and the air mass is moving faster and faster as you fly south, to the point where that air mass is going 1,000.
So moving more south is going to make it move directly eastward more.
Well, yeah, why wouldn't it?
Because south and east are two different directions, Zanick.
But this again, did you not hear the part about the air mass is moving tangentially, progressively faster as you fly south, to the point where it'll be double the speed when you get to the equator, according to your example.
Did you not hear yourself agree that just by flying west, it would lose eastward momentum?
Without an atmosphere, yes.
Wait, no, you said it would lose eastward momentum because
I think I specifically said without an atmosphere when I chimed in.
no, we're just saying we're talking about the way it would work in reality. Okay,
I go, you're totally right. If there was no atmosphere,
regardless of the atmosphere, you said if it goes eastward, it would gain more eastward momentum, right? So by that very logic, if it went westward, it would lose eastward momentum.
Absolutely, yes.
There you go.
You could fly
with the atmosphere.
Hold on, you could fly 500 miles an hour westward and be almost in an inertial state where you have no momentum in your inertial reference frame, close to no momentum, very little.
But I don't care about that example you gave. You admitted it would lose eastward momentum by traveling west. So if it needed more by the time it got to an equator, west-southwest, it can't gain more and lose more at the same time. You don't hear yourself contradicting yourself?
No, because I've been very clear about this.
No, you
have to travel. You'd have to travel more south.
And then that would make the traveling south would make the plane gain 500 miles per hour of direct eastward momentum.
Yes.
That's ridiculous. And it's not even right.
I think you're starting to get it.
You already admitted it would lose momentum. Just by heading west, it lost its momentum. Right?
No,
so
you gain
more
it back. But you
gain
gained it back. You
gain it back
and some. Yeah.
How do you gain back more eastward momentum? How do you gain that?
What causes momentum to change? What is the one thing that can cause momentum to change? A force,
velocity.
Right?
Force.
No, not velocity. A force. A force can cause. It's by definition what momentum changes. It's what causes a force. It requires a force. It causes a force, right? So if we have forces, we can change that momentum.
Okay. So do you agree that with Sean that there would never be a time where the plane would be out of the reference frame, because this is all reference frame dependent. So it's traveling separately because it's losing eastward momentum by going west, and it needs 500 miles per hour more. But you admitted it lost its eastward momentum. So you're saying it's going to be traveling eastward faster than where it started off, even though you also agreed if by going west it's going to lose its original momentum. So how's it going to end up going backwards, right, at a city that it's traveling towards faster And then it started off with, if it's lost its momentum, Zanick, that's a perfect contradiction that you're not acknowledging.
It's not. I'll
It's
respond to
not.
that.
Well, it is.
Well, no, it's not. You have lost. If you lost any sight or hearing, that the confidence in my voice has not changed. When you are going eastward or westward, and you've lost all your tangential velocity with respect to the inertial reference frame, you're basically going zero. You have no momentum, zero momentum.
Zero.
But the Earth is still spinning, and you're traveling 500 miles an hour eastward with zero, relatively close to zero momentum.
Oh, you said. Wait, hold on. You said it lost at 500 miles per hour. You said it lost. I'm going west.
Yeah, you have no momentum. You had whatever momentum you started at 500 miles an hour at that city.
Right.
You are now flying 500.
It's still traveling west southwest. It's still traveling west southwest. No eastward momentum.
This is why this has gone on for months, because you're not thinking this through. You're not breaking it down to its basic elements.
You're not stopping the contradiction.
Little pieces, little steps. You didn't hear anything I said because you were talking the entire time.
No, Zanick,
I know you're not being rude. I just wish you'd stop so you could think for a second.
Zanick, I just want to get to where you were. Zero momentum, still headed west. It's got zero eastward momentum, right? So how is it going to gain 500 from there?
No, I didn't say that. I said
you
directly.
Did. Zero.
No, I said directly westward.
Southwest is the whole.
We're going to break it up in just 3 small chunks. First, it's going to be an acknowledgement. We have to find common ground so we can have an understanding. That's how communication works.
So it goes
so we're going west.
Down to zero.
We're going west. Stop saying that. we're going west, and we're going west, and we're having relatively close to zero momentum because we're going 500 miles an hour westward. Right? Let's get that, like that beachhead that we both can agree that is true.
Well, no, it wouldn't be true, because if you were at zero eastward momentum and the ground is still moving at its 15-degree rotation underneath you, you would be able to stick a fucking camera out the window and show the Earth moves relative to your zero momentum that you have.
No, so you don't get it. Okay.
Oh, really?
You take off. You're getting your reference frames confused. And by the way, if Sean, I don't think Sean said this, but if he did, he should be corrected.
Don't talk about reference frames. Just talk ground.
I know, but things don't leave. So again, I always say this: things don't leave reference frames. So we're going to look at it from the inertial reference frame. The inertial reference frame shows this globe spinning, and it shows this airplane taking off and going 500 miles an hour westward. Well, from this reference frame, hold on, from this inertial reference frame, which is just like looking at it from the sun, we see this airplane not moving. It's just flying, and we see this Earth that's rotating underneath it, right? Because it's still rotating.
So you're saying if it took off and just stayed in the air and was rotating with its original conserved momentum with the Earth, is that what you're saying?
No, it took off with its original conserved momentum, and it lost all that momentum
by going west.
By going west. Now it has zero momentum with respect to the inertial reference frame.
Okay, great.
Of course, on the Earth is going 500 miles an hour versus the ground. It's gained momentum for when it was on the airport on the spinning reference frame, but we're looking at the inertial reference frame. So it took off from the inertial reference frame, in the inertial reference frame, and is now going zero because we're looking at it and it's not freaking moving, but the Earth is moving underneath it, right?
There's a spinning reference frame.
The spinning reference frame. There's 2 reference frames that we're
okay, so now get us to the equator where it needs 500 miles per hour more.
Let's agree that
it need to go backwards 500 miles per hour faster than where it started from. Get us to the equator now. West, southwest.
We have to agree on this first. So you agree that it has zero momentum with respect to the Earth?
It would lose all its momentum by going west. I agree with you on that part.
Great. Okay, fantastic. Now, stage 2. Now we're going to start heading southward. We're still going west, right? We're still going west, but we want to start going southward now.
Southwest.
So what's going to start happening? Well, the air mass that we're running into is going to increase its tangential velocity progressively as we travel southward, right?
No, it's going west, southwest. West, southwest, strictly west, southwest. So you're saying that between the time that it has zero momentum eastward, by the time it gets to the equator, it's going to be traveling west, southwest at that angle, but somehow then be moving 1,000 miles per hour backwards in perfect sync with the Earth at the equator. That's what you're saying?
No.
How's that happen? Does it happen?
No. All we have to do is gain 500 miles an hour of tangential velocity.
No, you lost your 500. You said it's at zero.
No, we already had. I thought we had a common ground. We had a beachhead.
You said it's at zero momentum, so now it needs 1,000 miles per hour by the time it gets to the equator.
Well, no. Think about it. We're at 5. The tangential velocity was 500 when we took off. We went 500 miles an hour. Now we're at zero.
Down to zero.
where we want
So
to
now
now.
it
If you
needs
travel,
1,000
hold on,
more.
just
It needs
God,
1,000 miles
dude,
per hour eastward.
I thought I was
Hey, we're
hyperactive, man. You
walking through
are
the
like
steps, Zanick. You said let's
no,
walk
but
through
you
the
keep
steps.
on
It's at
talking over me,
zero.
and
It's
I
at
don't
zero.
mean it
We're
like
in
you're rude
agreement
or
there.
anything. No, I'm not
Wait,
complaining.
you don't need to talk over
I just
me.
want
I'm
to
just
talk
trying
to
to
you. I
catch
just
up.
want.
You're saying it's
I'm
at
dying.
zero
I'm dying to
eastward
get
moment.
my thought out, but you won't let me.
Okay, go ahead.
Just hang on, dude. Come on.
All right, go
So
ahead.
I'm not getting
Time,
upset with
guys.
you
One
talking
at a
over me. I
time.
just want you to. I'm anxious to kind of want you to understand because it's not a debatable part.
Yeah.
What I'm going to say is not
Okay.
debatable. By the
I'm
way, what I'm going
anxious
to
for
say
you to
right now is
explain it
true
and
and
make
correct.
it make sense. So go ahead.
What I'm going to say is true and correct, and it's not debatable. So when you fly south to the equator, regardless of all the mumbo jumbo that happens in between, the Earth will be going now 1,000 miles an hour, but because that's the tangential velocity of the Earth with respect to the inertial frame. But you're going 500 miles an hour. So really, there's only a 500 miles an hour difference between when you took off in the northern latitude to the
You said
equator.
it
So they
lost.
only
You said it
changed
lost its 500. You said it lost. It went to zero. How did it gain 500 again?
because you traveled southward with power. You had to actually increase your power.
Wait, no,
You
you
had to
know what? You didn't add that in. You said it's at zero, right? Just from traveling west, it's at zero eastward momentum.
Right?
How's
And we
it
start
gain
traveling south
1,000 from that point on?
because
Walk it
the
from
air
that
mass.
point from zero to
You
1,000.
don't gain 1,000. Remember, when you end up at the equator, you're still going 500 miles an hour less tangential velocity than the equator because you're going 500 miles an hour westward. So how did it
No,
gain
it's
that 500
1,000 at
miles
the
an hour?
equator.
It gained. Let me finish this one sentence. It gained. This is the key. It gained the 500 miles an hour tangential velocity because the air mass was going 500 miles an hour faster tangential velocity. So even though you get to the equator where the tangential velocity of the ground is going 1,000 miles an hour, you're still going 500 miles an hour eastward. And so you didn't change with respect to the air mass. The air mass actually accelerated you to 500 miles an hour greater than you were when you took off. Now, that's the most
You
concise
said it
way
went
I
down
can
to
explain.
zero.
No. Oh my God. No.
You did. Everyone heard you say it went to zero.
Now you're at
Zero
500.
eastward momentum
Should
from
we give you
traveling
values?
west.
Should I give you momentum numbers, like actual values? You know how to
You said
calculate
zero.
momentum, right?
Everyone heard you.
Yeah. And
You said it's down to zero.
what would it be if I was just sitting on the runway?
Zanick, I didn't miss
when I
a
sat on
step
the
of what
runway?
you said. You
What
said
is the
going
momentum
westward.
of the airplane?
You said
What is
westward makes it
the
lose its
momentum of this
500 miles
100,000
per hour.
kilogram object sitting on the runway before it's taking off, not moving on
That's
with
the
respect to the
500.
ground?
That's the 500 it starts off with.
It's 500 times. It's 500. Whatever it's 500 kilometers per hour, or per second.
Whatever, dude. Why are you going back to that?
Yeah. So
It
we
goes
know
to
that.
zero.
We know that. God damn it! It's so hard to talk to you. Did anyone ever
I'm just
tell you that?
repeating what you said so we can walk through the steps so everyone understands what you're
Right.
saying. You said it goes
So
to zero by traveling west.
zero.
So now
It's
zero
So what will
momentum.
it be?
And then you all of a sudden saying it's 500, only 500
dude.
more.
Dude,
No,
this
it'd
is
be
a
1,000 more. But if it's
this
zero,
is a classic psychological
Guys,
issue.
what the fuck with the plane? What is the
Mhm.
color of the plane? Green!
Does everyone
The
else
plane is
hear him
blue.
say it went to zero
Das
because
ist
it
blue.
went westward?
Das ist blau. Das ist
All right,
Yeah.
blau.
hold on. At the moment, we can't hear anything. I'm going to mute you guys both for a second. You guys, that was completely hard to listen to. I don't even know where we go from here. Can you guys go one at a time, or what's up? Like you both have like the Zanick attack.
No, Gio, I'm
The way to
being
talk to
very polite
Zanick,
here.
as you know, the only way to talk to Zanick is to talk over him the way he talks over you.
See, Gio, that's the problem right there. Just let me
Yeah,
finish.
you're the problem.
Yeah, but that doesn't work
perspective.
for anyone listening. So
Right, I agree.
Your perspective,
So-
please give me the floor and don't say a goddamn word. And I'll do the same for you. I
Wait,
promise.
hold on. Let me reiterate what I thought you said, and then you can correct me, okay? You said we take off at the 500 miles per hour eastward momentum, and you would lose it by traveling west, and you would go to zero. You said it many times. So you'd be
Yes.
zero eastward momentum by traveling west, but you're still going west southwest, strictly west southwest, not just south. Not just your angle is west southwest the way that Chicago to LA would be. That's your angle. You do not change that angle, right? You can't start talking about reference frame. Hold on, no, start. I have the floor. You can't start talking about going south and reference frames and all these other little examples you want to give to make it seem confusing because you already admitted it would go to zero by traveling west because it's lost its eastward momentum. So now you have to gain 1,000 miles an hour by the time you get to the equator, not just 500 because you lost the 500. You just admitted to that. Unless you have a different explanation, you're going to change now. Go ahead.
It's the same one I've always had. You have a zero momentum with respect to the inertial frame. You travel southward to the equator. You don't have to go 1,000. All you need is 500 because you have to understand that when you took off The Earth was going tangential velocity of 500 miles an hour. You lost that tangential velocity, which means your momentum went to zero with respect to the inertial frame. So what would that object, if it just magically appeared at the same velocity, that same 500 miles an hour through the air, but zero momentum, what would that momentum be at the equator? It just magically appeared there.
It'd be 1,000 compared to a zero. Like you just said, it's zero momentum. It'd be 1,000 miles per hour faster than zero. What's so hard to get about that?
No, because it only has a differential in the air of 500 miles an hour because it started at 500 and it's going to 1,000. Do you know the difference between 1,000 and a 500 is 500?
Yeah.
So it's not.
And you said
there's no
zero.
1,000. There's no.
You said
So
zero
let me have the
momentum.
floor. I did it for you just because we don't want Gio to get pissed off.
You asked me a question. You asked if I understand the difference, and I understand you said zero.
And what is the tangential velocity of that 500 miles an hour plane at the equator? What would be its tangential velocity if it's going 500 miles an hour through the air?
Wait. How did I get to 500? You said is it zero?
Because it's going 500 miles an hour through the air right now. So that same air, it's at the equator, going 500 miles. If it's going 500 miles an hour through the air, and you magically put it down at the equator, it's going 500 miles an hour. What's the tangential velocity?
Dude, you're making no sense. You said it went to zero.
Total sense. It had zero at the place it took off, going 500 miles an hour. Now,
no. You said by traveling westward, it went down to zero.
Gio's going to get pissed off and shut us both down. Come on.
Wait a minute, Zanick. I'm just saying what you said. You said it took off at 500, but it lost it by going west. It went west, and it went down to zero. That's what you said.
Obviously, you're not listening because you keep on talking. If you stop talking, you might get it.
Let me reiterate what you said so that you can clarify. You said it took off with 500, but by traveling west, it went down to zero momentum. Yes or no?
Yes, but that's not the velocity.
Okay, so we're at zero. Start from there. We're at zero eastward momentum.
You just equated. You just in the same sentence, which is killing me. You equated and drew the conclusion based on momentum equaling velocity.
No, I based on what you said, Zanick. You said it with zero.
Let me say it again.
If you're saying it started with 500, it went down to zero from traveling west. Yes or no?
Oh my God! Why is this so hard for you to grasp? Listen, real carefully.
Not me grasping it. I'm just repeating what you said. It has nothing to do with me understanding.
My head's starting to hurt now. Stop. You take off. You're at a tangent on the Earth, a tangential velocity of 500 miles an hour with respect to the inertial frame. You take off and you go 500 miles an hour westward. Now your momentum is zero because you're going 500 miles an hour against the 500 miles an hour speed of the Earth, tangential velocity of the Earth. Yep. If you were to go to just hold on to that thought for a second. Zero momentum, but you're still going 500 miles an hour in the air. If you were to go 500 miles an hour in the air,
that's what I don't get.
God dang it, you can't help yourself, can you?
Wait. No, I want to stop you there, right? Because that's where you said it went to zero, but then all of a sudden you're saying it's going 500 miles per hour still.
Because the momentum is its mass times its velocity, and its tangential velocity is. It has to be going 500 miles an hour. What's the difference between the tangential velocity of the Earth at where we took off and the equator? I'll give you a hint.
500 miles.
500, the other one's 1,000.
500 miles per hour.
Okay.
500 miles per hour.
Hold on.
But
please,
you said it lost that 500 miles per hour by going west.
Tattoo that on your forehead. Reverse writing so you look at it.
Don't act like I'm not getting this because you said it lost it by going west.
Everybody gets this but you, I bet.
No. You said it very clearly many times now that it would lose that 500 by going west down to zero.
Correct.
Right. So now it's needing 1,000 miles per hour more, not 500. Dude, you can't say it automatically has a 500 back if it lost it. You get why that's not clear?
No, because you're flying in the air. You're flying in the air, man. We know you're flying through the air.
Oh my God.
5 miles an hour. You have a gauge that says my indicated airspeed is, this is just numbers, but 500 miles an hour. Now you go through the air and you go down to the equator and you're still going 500 miles an hour through the air. These are still days from North America down to the equator. So the wind isn't blowing that day. It's a weird day, no wind. You go down there, you still say it's going 500 miles an hour through the air, but the tangential velocity of the Earth is 1,000 miles an hour. Well, if you are going the same speed over the ground as you were when you took off, that means you had to gain 500 miles an hour. And how did you do that? Well, the change in momentum would have to have occurred, and that change in momentum requires a force. That force is the increasing velocity, tangential velocity of the air mass that you were traveling in. If you went slow enough, all that force would be transferred to the airplane, this body that's moving through the air as you went southward. I don't care what direction you went. As long as you're going somewhat south, that every millimeter you travel south, there is going to be a force imparted on you by that still air. Because its tangential velocity is increasing as you go south.
You should listen to what you just should. You should rewind the tape and listen to
I
what
wish
you
you'd write
said.
it down so I don't have to
It has
say it
nothing to
500
do
more
with me not
times,
understanding
which I
it.
know I
Everybody
will.
heard
I'm getting
you.
really
Everybody
good at
heard
telling
you,
it to you,
Zanick.
but you're not getting at listening to it.
No, even if I were to say, okay, fine, you can have your 500 miles per hour eastward momentum, even though it's traveling in the opposite direction. Even if I said, okay, now it has that 500 miles per hour eastward tangential velocity again, even though you said it went down to zero. Even if we just give it back to you, how's it gaining 500 more when it's traveling in the opposite direction? That means it would head directly eastward, the opposite direction. That means it would have to be gaining momentum backwards more than where it started off from by the time it gets to the equator, where it would actually lose it by traveling in the opposite direction. You don't get that?
I do get that. I do. I do get the fact that you don't have it clear in your mind what's happening.
No, I just explained it why it doesn't work, and you're saying now it's going to be moving backwards faster than it's moving forwards.
You keep on confusing reference frames, and
no,
you're not really taking
not about reference frames.
into
You're
account.
very clear, dude. Very clearly,
the atmosphere.
It doesn't work.
Okay, we need to go to the
not about me understanding it. We go through this every time. Did anyone else hear him contradict himself?
Take it to the hot tub. Take it to the hot tub. Spinning hot tub.
Yeah, you guys should take a hot tub time machine into the future where you've settled this, and then we can all just go there now.
Yeah, Gio, did you hear what he was saying? He said it went down to zero from traveling west, and then he's saying because it's in the air, it's automatically now traveling 500 again. But even if we gave him that, how's he going to be going backwards, eastward, opposite direction that the plane is aimed towards, faster as he goes westward? That means that the plane would be traveling faster eastward backwards than it is traveling forward. And it goes against the idea that you would lose eastward momentum just by aiming that direction to begin with. So you're going to be losing it, not gaining it. And south doesn't mean east. South is not the same as east.
You have to fly in that air mass. I don't care who you are, what kind of plane it is, even if it's a balloon. You will have to fly in the air mass. And you will have to fly in it to such a way, in that direction, in any direction, where there's enough air rolling over the wings to produce enough lift to actually support the weight of that airplane. So we know it's in the air mass. You know it to be true. As you fly south, you have to be in that air mass, and that air mass itself is traveling faster tangentially than the place you took off from. So that is where the force comes from. Now, if you want
to have to be perfect and predictable, right? Sounds dangerous. Sounds dangerous because if there's a variation at all, if you're not in the exact same tangential velocity eastward, no matter what angle the plane's at, it has to be in lockstep with the Earth for it to treat the Earth as stationary when it lands. And that's dangerous to say there's these variables that they have to account for and somehow fly backwards faster than it's moving forwards and expect that the air mass is going to do that for you somehow, and it defies physics. That's just the dangerous situation you're talking about that is somehow matter of fact. And left lane's never taught to think about how fast the Earth is moving in its reference frame compared to its own plane. So how is that possible? He flies over what he thinks is stationary and thinks it's moving at the same time. He would have to account for all these things you're talking about.
The air masses are always moving, and he doesn't care because he's flying in the air mass. And the air masses, as you move, will increase their tangential velocity as you
even if you fly against it. Even if you fly against it.
Even if you fly against it, you're always in the air mass. You don't care.
Right.
The molecules are going.
You're saying you would lose momentum by flying against it. You said it would lose momentum. That's right.
No, only with respect to the inertial reference frame. You're still having the momentum imparted into the air mass as you fly through it. That's in the rotating reference frame. You're confusing reference frames again, as you have been.
I'm not confusing anything, dude. It's hilarious.
No, you really are. What's amazing to me is that you've stuck to your. I'm kind of impressed that you've stuck to your guns for like a month on this topic, and you still don't get it.
Oh no, it's not about me getting it. It's been the whole time you contradicting yourself, saying south.
I'm not contradicting
banking
myself.
South is going to make it move eastward, and they're never even trained to bank south anyway. Then you act like it'd be something that they wouldn't have to account for. The air mass does it for you, but then you have to bank south. So which is it? Do they have to bank south to go east, and the pilot has to know how to do that? Or do they just rely on this magical air mass moving the plane backwards faster than it is moving forwards, and it just magically makes it in the same tangential velocity?
No magic.
So no, they don't bank south. So now they don't bank south to go more eastward.
They do.
Oh, well, the pilot should be trained to do that then, right? The pilot would have special training, right?
No, they don't. No special training. You fly
Even
from
though
one point
south
to
is
the
in
next.
east. How does it gain direct eastward momentum by banking south?
Because you fly a higher, air mass that actually has a higher tangential velocity
Okay,
progressively
so
as you go
you're
south.
saying south is the same as east, and I'm the one that doesn't understand?
I never said south is the same of east.
You're saying you would gain direct eastward tangential velocity by banking south.
Yes, because you're going eastward. If you go south, that's more into the direction of east as you go south.
Just because
So
south is more east than west, you're saying it would gain more eastward direct momentum? That's
Yes, it sounds
ridiculous.
a little bit crazy because you're not
Yeah, it
thinking
does. Sounds a lot of it
as you
crazy
go.
and impossible and
I guess
ridiculous.
we got it. Jeremy and I were talking about this a while back, and we talked about a river that has not much motion near the shore, and as you get out to the middle of the river where it's deep, there's a faster current, and you want to get across this river. To think of the Earth as that type of situation, how you would get to how you'd point the plane or the boat, the canoe, whatever you're paddling, or you have a motor on it, and how you would get across that current. What direction do you have to point the plane or the boat or whatever to get across this varying current environment? And it could be just
varying is the key word.
Maybe you want to
we
just
know
get to
that
the middle.
we know that the air doesn't go in one direction. We have winds in all directions, so it's already out the window.
It pales in comparison. The difference between the air mass in California versus the equator
doesn't matter if it pales in comparison.
You're talking about a 500 miles an hour difference. So there's no air masses that are going 500 miles an hour. There's bands of jet streams can go 100 to 200 miles an hour along the way, and air pilots are trained to deal with that as well.
Well, if there's no air mass that travels that fast, how's it going to make the plane gain that momentum?
It has engines. It can impart a force on the air. And that force imparting on the air, the exchange of momentum, the change of momentum allows the plane to go any direction it wants to go.
Right, and in this scenario, the engines are forcing the plane in the opposite direction. So how is it gaining more the eastward momentum if it's forcing the plane in that vector westward, west-southwest?
Every degree south you travel, you gain tangential momentum.
Yeah, but you would need way more, and you would be losing more by going west. So you can't have it both ways. Listen to what ChatGPT said. ChatGPT said, "You are correct, and I apologize for the confusion in my previous response. If the established direction of the airplane's flight path is strictly west-southwest, then it would not be possible for the airplane to adjust its heading towards the east, as that would contradict the given scenario. In the scenario you described, where the airplane starts with a conserved momentum of 500 miles per hour in an eastward direction and flies strictly west-southwest all the way to the equator, it would not be able to achieve the necessary eastward tangential velocity."
That's why it turns more south. That's the answer you're looking for.
You think you're going to get away with that? Do you think that sounds believable to anybody listening?
Yes.
You just go more south, and all of a sudden you're going way more eastward, which is backwards from the direction you're headed. That's ridiculous, dude. You want to stick with that? You want to stick with that as your answer, your final answer? What, south is west, south is east? South is east?
You gain eastward momentum by going south, yes.
Well, that would be something you would train the pilots to do then, because it would be very important to be in sync with the Earth.
You don't need to.
Oh, well, then why would you say you'd bank south? If the pilots would have to know to do that, to bank south, that sounds like a conscious decision.
They're just following their directions based on where they are from their point-to-point verification system, VOR.
Well, then why are you talking about banking south? The point-to-point doesn't include south. It's a west-southwest direction. There's no south involved. It's just west-southwest.
Over a 3,000 or 4,000 or 5,000 mile journey, as you're talking about, very, very tiny corrections along the way to do this.
Well, that's something a pilot would be trained to do then.
No, he's trained to fly the plane and get to a position that he can see in the distance or that he can track on his radar.
Right, and he goes west-southwest strictly in this Chicago to LA flight, so he doesn't go south at all.
My dad used to fly a very popular route from San Francisco to Australia. He did it back and forth all the time. That's what he did.
And he told you that he banked south to go east?
No, you just follow the coordinates. You follow the point.
Oh, so there's no banking south necessary. You just follow the coordinates.
Yes, you keep on saying banking. I mean, I keep on picturing this plane like banking over, and everyone like, hold on to your drinks.
What'd you say?
No, it's just turning slightly.
Turning slightly is banking, right? Or no, or don't call it that.
So, okay, If turning slightly equals banking, yes, you're going to constantly be banking.
Okay, why are you coming on after me for saying it's banking?
I think you get confused by some of the words we're using
I'm
here.
confused by a thing, dude. You're the one that
No,
sounds
you are
ridiculous.
confused.
Everyone listening, I guarantee it.
Nobody. You pull one. Go ahead. Pull one to say that who sounds ridiculous. You or me?
Okay. Anybody else want to chime in and explain why south is not east to Zanick?
I ever said south was east?
You said you would gain more eastward momentum by banking south.
Yes.
Okay, so south is east.
No, that's not how algebra works.
And it's the opposite direction. If it's going west-southwest at that angle, that means it would have to be that by banking south, it would cause the plane to move backwards faster than it's moving forwards.
Why?
Because it needs more momentum, and it's already lost its momentum by the fact that it's going west-southwest. It's losing its original momentum, not gaining more.
They describe the Earth as the atmosphere is almost like Jello that is surrounding a sphere. I've often made that. So those factors you're bringing up, new perspective, are not necessarily in play because, I mean, I agree that it doesn't work with actual real physics, but within the kind of like pseudo-physical model that they use, when you take off, you're keeping this, it's as if the atmosphere was Jello. So you're keeping up with the Earth. So when you move within it, you're not actually going against the Earth speed. You're actually just going in relation to the reference frame of the quote unquote Jello, which is like the way they try to claim the atmosphere is, carrying along the plane.
Right. I understand that. But the fact of the matter is that physics would say that if you go the opposite direction of your original conserved momentum, which Zanick confirmed, you would lose that eastward conserved momentum, which has nothing to do with the Jello. It has to do with being on the Earth, right? The Jello isn't keeping the plane at 500 miles per hour eastward.
Yes,
it's because it took off from the ground is the reason it's moving 500 miles per hour eastward.
Absolutely right. Gio is absolutely right, and he said it perfectly.
No, he's saying it was pseudoscience. It doesn't work. But if you want to think of it the way with the Jello, since the air isn't Jello, he's not right because he knows it's fallacious.
Jello, it's a fluid.
Well, it would have to be. It would have to be something like that, but it still wouldn't work.
Can I talk, or are you gonna just keep talking over me? The physics says very clearly this is possible, and this is what happens. Now, it may all just be made up, and all these instruments are all incorrect and all part of the big conspiracy. But no, we know that any southward direction of travel that we take, we will gain eastward momentum. We will gain it because the tangential velocity traveling southward.
Gio, did you hear that part about him saying that you would bank?
I can't even finish the thought. Okay, you know what?
Wait, Gio, Gio agrees on that. Gio, did you hear him say that you would bank south to get more direct eastward momentum? Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, because of the Jello.
The Jello works with the south. Jello turns south
moving. The Jello imparts a momentum into the plane that force will actually accelerate it to the east.
But we already know that the Jello flows in all directions if it's wind, right?
No, but mostly, generally in sync with the Earth's rotation.
But regardless, you've lost momentum by going west.
Who are you to say regardless? My God,
because you agreed it would lose momentum by going west.
You're taking things out of context now, and you're putting the pieces together incorrectly. You're pulling a Wixit on me. Listen, it's not exactly. Guy, listen. You're flying eastward, flying westward. You lose all your tangential velocity, all of it.
There you go. You just said it again.
You're zero. You're zero momentum with respect to the inertial reference frame. You start turning south as you're traveling westward. It's a little bit south. You, at that same exact airspeed, you will start gaining tangential velocity.
That's how their model works because of the claim of the Jello. But the real question, Zanick, how is air above the ground, above the soil, acting as Jello?
Because it's a fluid, and Jello
fluids don't just act like Jello. Jello is a very particular, very viscous, very thick fluid, and we all know what Jello is. It's actually gelatin, is what it's made from ultimately.
Well,
plus, if that Jello was forcing the plane backwards faster. Wait. I just want to explain something to Gio. If that Jello was able to force the plane backwards in this tangential velocity, it would be forcing the plane backwards faster than it's flying forwards in that west-southwest direction. So do you see the contradiction? Because he's saying it would lose momentum by flying west, so it's going to continue to lose momentum, but then also gain eastward tangential velocity at the same time it's going forward and losing and gaining and losing and gaining, it doesn't work. You can't say it's losing and gaining at the same time. And you can't say south is west either. I mean, south is east. You can't say that. I mean, you can say it, but it just makes you sound more ridiculous every time you do. And why is ChatGPT like totally like confirming over and over again? You're right. It would need more eastward momentum by the time it got to it would need more eastward tangential velocity by the time it got to a city on the equator. So there's no way it could possibly catch up and be in sync. If there was any variation, even if this jello worked somehow to push it backwards,
you know how it works?
what if it pushed it backwards just like a little bit less, and then it's not in the sync with the Earth? It would. There's no way it could ever treat the runway as stationary unless it's stationary, because there's a variable there that could be off.
If you're in a car and there's a little fly on your arm, there's a fly just sat on your arm, and then the fly, you're going 60 miles an hour down the highway, and then the car, you're going 60 miles an hour, you're inside the car, all the windows are rolled up, and then there's a fly sitting on your arm. If that fly decides to start flying, it can do so freely in the same amount of pressure that it would take if it was not going 60 miles an hour. Meaning, even if it was still, it's quite similar to being still because of the fact that it's already going 60 and there's no air in that scenario.
I've heard that Glober argument, but it's a total non sequitur, as you would agree.
Let me just say, so where if the fly jumps off your arm and it starts flying around, now there is actually a difference, which is why that doesn't fully work as an analogy. But
exactly,
nonetheless, in a way, what they're saying fits because we all know when the fly does that. Like if there was another person's arm on the other side of the car, and that's like the two runways, and the idea of the fly is like the airplane, it could jump off, it could fly up off your arm and whip around as it normally does, and it could just go right to that dude's arm and land on it because both the arms are in the moving thing, which they're claiming is the globe.
Right, but it doesn't work because it's non sequitur. We have a first of all it's fluid dynamics not involved with the car because it's a static environment that's enclosed completely, which they don't say. It would be a difference in the atmosphere. We have a jet stream that supposedly goes 200 miles per hour faster than 1,000 miles an hour.
Well, then that would be like if you had the vents on.
The wind goes in all directions.
That would be like if you had the vents on in the car and it was blowing air. That would be a little extra air that the fly
that would make a difference for the fly. It would. The air pushing the fly, and it would have to fight that air vent.
Yeah, but they account for that.
Fly.
That is.
Well, they could account. They could account for that, but then the fly would have special instinct to be able to account for those winds and fly where it wants, and the pilot would also be accounting for that spin of the Earth if it was something it had to deal with, but it doesn't. The pilot would be trained to deal with matching the tangential velocity, and they're not. They're trained to always treat it as stationary, and the only way that's possible is if it's stationary. And this west-southwest makes it ridiculous to even conceive that it would be moving faster backwards than it is forwards, when he admitted that moving in a westward direction makes it lose its original conserved momentum eastward. So it's lost its original conserved momentum.
For anyone to respond to, man. So I'm not even sure where.
Exactly.
Okay.
The geo gets it. You're
I laid it out. He said it would lose its eastward momentum by traveling west.
Well, let's just go through one thing at a time. Can we go through one
first thing is, if it had 500 miles per hour, it's lost. He said one thing at a time. This is my one thing at a time. Eastward momentum 500. It loses.
Hold on, let me just stop you though, dude. There's this dude, Steel City. You know him? Yeah, I don't know if he's in here or what, but yeah, you guys know Steel City. One time he said it a couple times. It's like a thing he says. It's funny. He explains it like trying to take a drink from a fire hose. Because like if you're given so much information, that's the way he uses it. Like Brian Leak, he'll go off into like 20 points, and then Steel City would be like, bro, it's like you're saying so many things like try to take a sip of water from a fire hose. The fire hose is just blasting water. So if I could just suggest that if we're going to continue on this, that we could possibly go a little slower and actually go through these things instead of just like, oh, it's my turn to talk. I'm going to go for as long as I can until someone interrupts me. Can we go into a flow of like actually saying a point? And
I just feel like I've said it so many times. I don't want to drag it out.
And then passing the mic and then actually having it like flow.
Yeah. I feel like I'm repeating myself and people are sick of hearing it because they've probably memorized it by the time I've said it 100 times. So I'm trying to get through it rather than drag it out. So
we were on a thing there with the fly and the car and the thing. Yeah. So
right. But we already know it's a non sequitur because it's an enclosed environment and the air is static. It is a non sequitur, dude, because it's not the same as being in a car. Dude, fuck you. It does it. It does it. It is a non sequitur. We've gone through this.
It's not.
The
I'll tell
air,
you
the
why,
air
right
enclosed
here.
inside a car is not the same as the fluid dynamics that the air would have over an Earth, and the wind travels in all directions, not in one direction. Period.
Yeah. Picture the air conditioning on. Same thing.
It's not.
Non sequitur is not the term you're looking for, by the way.
Yeah, it's not. It's not related. It's not the same thing,
That's not what it means either.
dude.
Just stop using terms you
It's
don't
an
even know what they mean.
example of something that's not what we're talking about.
No, it's not the next logical step in thinking about or talking about
Don't
something.
worry about whether I call it a non sequitur. Just talk about
All
the
right,
point.
well, let's talk about
The reason, in my viewpoint, the reason to, oh, you guys got to slow down, man. What is up? Okay, so the fact that, well, okay, what I was going to say, the reason I brought that up was to say that I bring it up because I'm trying to, in my viewpoint, first give them as much credit for some parts of what they're explaining that is actually verifiable in physical reality, at least some parts of it. And then actually, from my viewpoint, and I can only speak for myself, but I would then be in agreement with that part of it. Then my next steps would be to try to actually get more to the root of it. And that's the interesting combo to me. Like, what really is the truth of it? What's the truth of the matter?
Right.
But Gio, that's not what he's doing.
And I'm letting them beg the question by saying that they can have their conserved momentum that we automatically give them because it's on the Earth and it gets up in the air. So it's automatically traveling at 500 miles per hour eastward with the Earth. So I'm letting them beg the question that way. But then Zanick agreed that you would lose that by traveling west.
They just
and then
use
if you're
gravity,
going west southwest,
I mean,
it
the
doesn't
gravity
matter.
is what
Gravity
keeps
doesn't
them on the
solve it
globe.
You're not
either.
even using gravity. No, don't even bring another. that's
Gravity doesn't solve it either. It's like this whole eastward velocity thing.
That's
Because if
the
we
whole
need
thing is
more,
gravity, though. Hold on.
Okay, you guys been going on for 10 minutes. Let me say something now. So
no, just let me tap on right onto it, and then you can go. So hold on, real quick. Just it is gravity because when you're on the Earth, you're held by gravity. On the globe, you're held by gravity, and then when you take off, you're also completely being controlled by gravity. It's the gravity that is making it all stationary in your model, meaning it's clinging everything to the globe in this like almost like static cling way that is just stationary. That's how you guys try to explain it.
No, it's not stationary. We know the dynamics of the air.
That's it.
It's a conserved momentum.
But it is stick. We do have a tangential velocity because it implies a curve.
Because otherwise, if you were on a sphere without gravity, when you took off to fly, we all know what would happen. You would whip out into space.
Right.
Yeah, but so you don't. The reason you don't is because of gravity.
That's not the discussion. That's why it's a non sequitur. We don't care about that right now. Gio, we're just talking about the fundamentals that you've actually done a very good job trying to explain to the perspective who's just not accepting the fact that we can take off, and he keeps on confusing reference frames, and it's killing me to see him do that.
No,
so let me just go over the
one point. You know what needs to happen in this conversation? Hold on. No one should be interrupted because I just got interrupted, and then it can't just be that. It can't just be that someone talks and then just whenever someone interrupts them, they're just done and that other dude just gets to dominate. Like, that's not fair. Can we actually chill? Like, I try to only speak like 20, 30 seconds at a time. That's the goal in my viewpoint. And I can't like, I mean, we can try to moderate for the monologuing, but I mean, obviously everyone's unique. So like, we could impose the time limit.
I'll totally be quiet. Zanick is the problem, obviously, but go ahead, Zanick. Go ahead. We won't interrupt you. Go ahead. Zanick, you're always the problem. You're always the problem. You do. Go ahead. I'll try to be less of the conversation.
All right, let me just. All right, come on, you guys.
I want to hear you and Gio go back and forth. I won't even say a thing. Go ahead.
It's impossible. You can't keep your mouth shut.
All I was trying to say, Zanick, you can go right next. Let me just finish by saying, yes, to me, it is absolutely my understanding on all the levels of it that absolutely is gravity. So you have this sphere. Gravity is the thing that's already clinging everything to the sphere and making it go at a perfect 1,000-mile-an-hour rotation to the way in which everything is stuck to the globe in a way that literally is stationary, meaning a tree, if there's no wind blowing, it's just chilling there. And if a leaf falls down, it falls down. It's literally stationary because the gravity is clinging it all to the sphere. Now, let's just say I'll give that to the globe. All right, there it is. You got it. The next step is if you were then an airplane in that theoretical scenario of physics, if you then were an airplane on that thing and you took off, the reason when you took off that you would still be kind of flying over a planar type surface is because when you take off, the gravity is now acting on the airplane and it's acting on the Earth and making it all, once again, in this kind of stationary reference frame.
Okay, so I don't know what stationary reference frame means, but I think I know what you're trying to say there, Pio. But new perspective. Listen, it's pretty simple. Even when you're flying 500 miles an hour through the air at the equator, you're going backward from the inertial frame of this view from the inertial frame. You're going backward. You're actually going backward.
Well, that's
in the
what
inertial frame.
that's what the globe is missing, dude. Because there is like the universal foundational frame.
Well, let's just call it inertial
But you
frame.
said it loses eastward momentum, Zanick, from going west.
If we're flying 500 miles an hour eastward at the equator, we are flying backward. Even though we're going forward, we're going backward with respect to the inertial frame at a rate of negative 500 miles per hour tangential velocity. Do you get that?
No, see, you said it loses more. It loses.
So
It loses.
I'm gonna let you.
I'm reiterating. I'm steel manning what you just said.
If you guys go back and forth, here's what I suggest: just do one point at a time, and literally try to keep it 20 seconds to 20
that
seconds.
Was 10 seconds. That was 10 seconds.
If you two are gonna go back and forth, that's what you guys have to do. Like keep.
I've done this already with them a couple times.
It's like a quick game of tennis, like super concise with no interruptions. Then we can actually
20 seconds. Here's my first 20 seconds. Zanick said that you would lose your eastward momentum by traveling west. And he said many times you go down to zero momentum. So you would lose your eastward tangential velocity. By that same philosophy, if you continued in a west-southwest direction, you would continue to lose more eastward momentum than you even had to begin with. So you can't be gaining more eastward momentum when you're headed still west-southwest, where that if you're down to zero, then you would have to somehow be going backwards at 1,000 miles an hour, and you're only traveling at 400 miles per hour cruising speed toward your destination. It doesn't work. Can't gain backwards eastward tangential velocity when you're continuing to fly the opposite direction, when you've already lost all of your original.
It's a minute.
Go ahead, rebut that.
All I have to do, I haven't even rebut it. Just have to clarify your errors in your understanding of what I actually said.
I just repeated what you said.
No, you didn't repeat what I said. If you're flying eastward at 500, keep it round numbers, westward. 500 miles an hour. Look, if you keep, can we fly westward at 500 miles an hour?
Southwest is the direction. Strictly westward.
Just why do you? I did
because
it for you.
You keep changing the scenario as if that's going to make a difference.
I'm trying to lay a foundation so you can understand. Just stop. The deal was just shut up.
All right, guys, hold on. I had to mute you guys for a second. That was that was far off the rails there. I don't know. I don't really want to have to sit here and mute and unmute you unless another mod does, or I could give anyone a temp mod role if they want to. Does anyone want a temp mod role and mute and unmute these guys? I mean, new perspective. I realize they don't expect you to like mod your own convo, and then you guys are. I mean, come on, can you guys go back and forth? Like, I don't want to sit here and mute and unmute you, but like,
well, you know how
you got to just keep it concise and go one point at a time, because otherwise you guys will just talk nonstop.
Okay, Gio, if you can mediate this, right? The scenario, the only scenario I'm talking about is a strictly west-southwest direction.
Now,
the plane does not aim in any other direction.
It's my turn.
Wait, I want to set the parameters.
No,
the direction is west-southwest. That's all we're talking about, Zanick. Don't use any other direction. That's all I'm saying. Go.
All right, dude.
Yeah, I can't mute and unmute these guys. So
unbelievable. Gio, you set the stage, then you let him go off the rails.
Honestly, we'll just give you guys one more chance, and if you can't do it, I think we'll just have to.
Wait,
I'm not going to interrupt. Wait, hold on, Gio. Let me just say one thing.
Gio, you laid the foundation.
Janet,
you said,
I'm letting
shit.
you go.
He's modding and you're interrupting. What the hell?
God damn
if you keep going, I'm just gonna go over Gio and tell you out, because this is just ridiculous. I'm hearing y'all and I'm just getting pissed off just listening to y'all.
Yeah, I know. Well, I mean, I did say my last piece. However, like they both just kept talking right away or started talking at the same time. And yeah, Zanick was being super. Zanick, dude, you're super hyped up right now, man. You gotta chill, or like, I don't know. I agree with Elbow. So I don't know. Well, this is the last chance. I don't.
Gio,
go ahead.
Can I ask
let Zanick go? No, Zanick. To be fair, Zanick was the one going. However, you're being totally like disruptive as heck.
No, Gio. I started talking.
Just go. Just say your point. Start your 20 seconds now. Go.
Okay,
wait, hold on. Wait. If I could be heard, I want to let him.
Oh my God.
Hold on. I just muted you both again. Zanick, I'm going to unmute you. Dude, just go with your first 20-second point. I'm going to unmute both of you. Go to your first 20-second point, pass the mic, and just be silent, and then let New Perspective give his full 20 seconds. While he's doing that, be silent. New Perspective, keep it concise, send it back, etc. Back, just be silent while each other, and just don't monologue and don't go on super long, and try to keep it as concise as possible. If you guys can't do it on your own, then we'll just leave you both muted or ask you just not to talk because we have to move forward. So, all right, go ahead, Zanick. You're up. Go.
All right. Just to you, Gio, you asked me and told me to be quiet, let him talk. I did. You said 20 seconds, you went out for a minute. And then when I started talking,
I'm saying don't go back into all that drama. Just
I know, but you got
point.
to be fair here. I mean, just as a friend, come on, as a conversationalist here, you got to be true to your outline. You outline what we should do, and then he didn't do it. So just try to stay true to that. Okay, now I'll start. So yes, we start with, and he can't tell me what I can and can't say because that's the way I can explain it to him. Going eastward, we're going eastward at 500 miles an hour. The tangential velocity at that latitude is 500 miles an hour. We have zero momentum. If we're on the equator with that same velocity through the air, 500 miles an hour, we would be going backward through the air at 500 miles an hour with respect to the inertial reference frame. The rotating ball would be rotating, and we see this airplane actually going backward, flying backward, even though it's flying 500 miles an hour forward through the air. So once you grasp those two concepts, you can understand why a plane from the higher latitude going southward, any degree southward, would gain tangential velocity to the extent of the differential of the tangential velocity between where it took off and where the equator is. That was not that hard, was it? Perspective.
Am I allowed to go?
Yeah, that's in a nutshell.
Okay, so you're not going to interrupt me? Okay.
I never did.
I wouldn't bet on that, but go ahead.
No, that's the deal. That's what we're.
Zanick, you got to shut up.
That's how we're moving forward.
All I was trying to do, and I wasn't trying to butt in before, was clarify that the strict parameters of the scenario that I was talking about was west-southwest. Zanick said that you would lose eastward tangential velocity down to zero by simply traveling in the westward direction against the direction it was originally moving at the 500 miles tangential eastward velocity. So you would lose it by going west. So you wouldn't have your original 500, but by the time you get to the equator, where you're going to need 1,000 miles per hour to be in perfect sync with the city that you're landing the plane in, to treat the runway as if it were stationary, and you're moving along tangentially as you're coming into the runway, you have to treat it as stationary. So that means the plane has to be moving eastward, directly eastward, along in the exact same speed that the city is moving at, which would be 1,000 miles per hour. But by his own admission, if you were going in the westward direction, you would lose your original conserved momentum. And then he's saying at the same time, you would gain all of that back plus whatever more you would need to be in perfect sync with the Earth, with the city that you're traveling to. And by saying you're banking south to go directly eastward is ridiculous. And you've already lost your conserved momentum from the start. So how are you gaining? How are you going to be going eastward 1,000 miles an hour when you've already lost your original 500 from going west? So now he's saying all of a sudden the 1,000 miles per hour in the eastward directions there, even though the plane traveled strictly west-southwest in the opposite direction of where it needs more tangential velocity. So you can't say that it loses tangential velocity by traveling west, which it would continue to do as it approaches that city, and then say that all of a sudden now it's flying the opposite direction, backwards essentially, at an angle, backwards, by the time it gets to the equator, but it's lost more and more as it goes. It's not going to be traveling faster backwards. By the time it gets to the east,
you're not passing. You're not passing.
Okay, I'm done. I'm just reiterating the same thing. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, part of the thing is that you guys would have to both be in some range of conciseness because,
can you wait?
Even if I were Zanick, it's like how like that was so many points. You know what I'm saying?
Well, it's just that there's one direction, right? And if you lose momentum by going westward, then you're not going to gain more.
You only do by a very little bit, bro. The only difference, like it's basically the Coriolis effect. So it's only that component, which is quite minimal when you're on an airplane flying.
Not if you're losing more by going west-southwest. You're losing the momentum you would need to gain. You would need more eastward tangential velocity. But
you don't lose momentum.
You said you would by going west.
The gravity. The gravity is holding everything to the sphere in addition to the airplane above the sphere in their model. So it behaves like it's stationary. I said that
Gravity
before.
has nothing to do with it.
Okay. Can I respond to that barrage real quick? Because I think there's a few points that you made.
I couldn't disagree more. Gravity is the foundational thing that is making the plane, when it's flying on a sphere, be stuck to the sphere so that it has the same physics as stationary, which is why they then admit that in airplane, they do tell the pilots, and is the foundation, that they do not have to use the curvature of the Earth at all. They fly as if it's a stationary plane.
Right.
It's because of the gravity. It's because of the gravity that's clinging everything.
Yeah.
In the way. So the thing you're saying, you're kind of treating it like if it was an actual real physical reality, like if you had like a fly on a tennis ball and then you spun the ball. Yes, of course, there'd be all those tangential speed differences you're mentioning in your perspective. Yes, that would all be the factor. That would all be the case. But in their model, they claim that everything is stuck essentially to the globe with gravity, and that gravity is pulling it around with it, to where when you take off from the Earth, it doesn't act like a fly on a tennis ball. It acts like one whole cohesive system that's moving together.
Right. I would say that gravity would be important for them, like, because if you're at the if you're taking off from the Earth, they say that the conserved momentum's from being on the Earth. But then if you were to if you were just like to stay in midair and hover, the reason it's curving with the Earth would be the gravity, right? That would keep it in its like curving state to go around with the Earth. It's not causing it to go in that direction eastward with the Earth, because that was caused from being on the Earth. But you're right, gravity would keep it in that same altitude, in that curved direction with the Earth. That's where gravity would be important. You're right.
Can I say something real quick?
If it was sticking it to the Earth, then it wouldn't be able to fly against the spin. Is the point? But go ahead, yeah, Shane, go ahead.
One thing real quick. I got a buddy. I've known him for 3 years. He's an Air Force vet. He's got thousands of hours in flight, and he is convinced that we live on a plane-like structure. I'm going to try to get him onto Discord, but he doesn't like internet stuff. He's kind of a private person, but if I, figured out a way to get him on here, he could discuss a lot of this from a personal experience.
Yeah,
Awesome.
The military treats it like a stationary plane or surface. Absolutely.
Yeah, they definitely do 100%. He can back up all of that.
I came across a bunch of these maps I'd never seen before. I did a bunch of research. I might end up doing a presentation on it, or we can go over them at some point. They were amazing. But one of them was like a World War II strategy map, and it showed all the flight paths within like a layout very much like the Gleason's map or the azimuthal equidistant, the AE map, very similar to that one. And it's this World War II flight path military map. So that's what they're actually using. Centered on the North Pole, a planar surface.
Yes, sir.
Yep. It's like another scenario I like to bring up is like if they how all the flight simulators use a stationary level Earth, right? Let's say that's a video game that just came out, and you went up to a teenager and you said, "This new video game came out, and you're flying over a stationary plane, and it's just like the flight simulators." But there's this other video game just came out too, and it's a spinning ball instead that you're flying over. But the weird thing is, it's the exact same video game.
Right. Exactly.
Hey, can I interrupt real quick? Like, hey, Gio, I just sent you something I think you should watch. Like, we were talking last night about. It's totally changed the subject. I'm sorry, but
no, we're not changing the subject because I
know
got
we're
something
not
to say
going
on
to.
this
I'm saying, Gio, I sent you something. Like, could you watch it and see what I'm saying? Yeah.
Okay, great. I just want to point out this whole time how many times Zanick was referring to the inertial frame. I don't know why any of the Globers didn't pipe up and say, why are you referencing that frame? That frame doesn't matter, or any of that nonsense.
Because the inertial frame is what gives you the zero momentum that he's talking about. So he's talking about it in terms of the inertial frame. So I'm speaking his language.
Yeah, it is. Well, that's what I'm saying. Yes. So because of their theory of gravity that clings it all to the ball, they do claim that whole thing is a reference frame, which of course it is, because it's the universal reference frame of the actual stationary XYZ coordinate system that we live within.
But think about the dynamics of that. Like if it somehow worked, which it wouldn't, even if the atmosphere were pushing the plane faster backwards than it's flying forward, which it doesn't, the pilot would be totally aware that that's going on. Like the dynamics and the way the forces of the plane.
No, because it's all one universal reference frame.
Well, it's called the inertial reference frame. And from the inertial reference frame, you fly backward with respect to the inertial reference frame when you're flying 500 miles an hour at the equator. That's how it works. If you watch the Earth, let me finish. I'm almost done. If you watch the Earth from the sun, for example, you would see this plane fly backward, even though it's pointing one direction on the equator, going 500 miles an hour with respect to the ground, it would be going backward. So until you can grasp that concept,
I can grasp that. I can grasp that, but I'm saying it would be something that would be, there would be forces on the plane that the pilot would be aware of if it was flying backwards faster than it's
of
going
course
forwards.
not. You also made an incorrect assessment and point that you'd have to be getting 1,000 miles an hour differential speed or gain of tangential velocity. That's only if you wanted to land and stop at the gate. We're just flying. So that if you're going 500 miles an hour,
landing on a stationary Earth.
Don't interrupt me, please. If you're flying 500 miles an hour,
you guys are both back into monologuing and interrupting.
I'm not interrupting. I'm just saying.
That was a quick.
I'm not just saying. I'm kind of just like broadly calling both of you out. That's what you're both doing. You're monologuing and interrupting. If you guys could please stop doing that, we could actually have a conversation.
Gee, that was 20 seconds. So
Gio,
if you're
go ahead, Zanick. Go ahead and monologue.
No, you're both just talking nonstop. That's what's happening.
I'm telling them to go ahead. That's all I'm saying.
Let me just finish the one
Jeremy
sentence.
said he had something to say too. Maybe we should mix it up a bit because you guys are just talking over each other and interrupting. Either figure it out or we should let other people get in.
My closing statement is this. How about that? The closing statement can turn on to something else. I said with respect to the inertial frame, you're traveling 500 miles an hour eastward. At the equator, you'd also be traveling 500 miles an hour eastward. But the tangential velocity of the ground would be going 1,000 miles an hour. So the net velocity would be 500 miles an hour. So 0 at the northern latitude and 500 miles an hour at the southern or the equator. That's because we're looking at it from the inertial frame. If you were to, it's only a 500 mile an hour difference, not 1,000 miles an hour difference.
Okay, my closing statement is: you said that we would lose the eastward momentum we originally had just by traveling west. You said it went down to 0. Then you said that it's somehow now all of a sudden its momentum eastward is 0 tangential velocity, but now it still has the 500. So how is that? And on top of that, you said even if I give you that, somehow it's still going backwards 500 miles per hour and traveling forward 400 miles per hour. It's going to continue to lose more eastward velocity by traveling more west-southwest. And by the time it got to the equator, it would be out of sync with the 1,000 miles an hour city there because it's lost more and more as it gets there, not gained opposite direction from the air mass that would cause some kind of like force on the plane. And the headwind moving it backwards faster than it's moving it forwards is just completely absurd, especially if you're saying the pilot would be completely unaware of that and it wouldn't cause a force on the plane.
There's no headwind.
And wait. The air mass of the force on the plane. That okay, you said something there, and I was with you. But the air mass of the force on the plane, I'm not getting what you're saying there.
He thinks the headwind. We have a 500 mile an hour headwind because it's going backward, even though we're going. And keep it 500 miles an hour for everything.
Without a wind.
We have the tangential velocity of that air mass is going faster as we get down to the equator. It will impart a force on the airframe, and it will make it go 500 miles an hour faster eventually. So by the time you get down to the equator, when you're flying at that tangential velocity of, or you're flying an air mass of 500 miles an hour, your tangential velocity is still 500 miles an hour negative. You're going backward. So you clearly have shown you don't understand it. I don't think we need to bore everybody.
You just said it wouldn't be a headwind, but it would be a force on the plane.
With this. I'm calling no joy. Okay, done.
Wait, Zanick, you just contradicted yourself.
What's no joy? What's no joy mean? Like you called no joy, so that means something. What does that mean?
That means you get when someone gives up.
Oh, okay. I like it. I like no joy. So there's no more joy. There's no more anything to get from the conversation. It's over. I got you.
You said I was mistaken to say that it would act like a headwind, but then you said it would be forcing the plane backwards. How is that different than a headwind?
Because it's not backward with respect to the non-inertial frame.
So it's not no joy then.
It's clear to me, very clear to me, and you have to respect this because I know this.
I don't understand.
You don't understand. You're confusing reference frames, and it's a shit show, and it's boring everybody. Gio's getting pissed off because we're talking over each other. So Drama and wisdom.
You just want to bow out, don't you, Zanick? Because you're done.
I'm claiming no joy.
No
Because you're
joy.
not understanding what I'm saying. You just
No
by the fact
joy.
you said it 1,000 miles an hour
I
to
feel
gain
no
up,
joy.
and there's also headwinds that pilots should realize shows you don't understand it. Just clearly.
I'll let the audience decide.
I have no
Yeah,
joy.
let the
My
audience
joy,
decide.
my
Yes,
joy,
please.
my joy is like at zero right now. You guys put all my joy down to nothing. So
Yeah. And Zanick, you said something about me being pissed. No, I'm not, dude. I never said I was in any way. So
yeah, you know what?
you just
You know what I can
He's
say?
projecting. He's
No, you
projecting.
didn't like it. You said it was a shit show, and I agree with you.
But I can
Yeah,
say
I
that
was
you
trying
were
to
so
moderate.
shitty.
Yeah, I was trying to jump in because
I'm sorry,
for
Gio.
everybody listening, yeah, I'm just letting you guys. I'm trying to help moderate, but
What
Hey,
I
Gio,
can
can I
say
ask
is
you
that
one
Gio,
question?
hey, can I compliment you, Gio, for a little bit? Like, give me 30 seconds to compliment you.